thunderstorm is set to erupt on the streets of Adelaide. V8 thunder, that is, in the Clipsal 500. All the stars of V8 Supercars and the new Konica V8 lights. Holden versus Ford. 2 days and 500 torturous Ks in the Coliseum of Carnage.
Oh, no, Neil Crompton. Oh, big crash in. Oh, look at this.
Last year, Craig Lowndes proved to be the supreme street fighter. In 2000, there's a new kid in town, eager to steal his crown. 22-year-old Garth Tander leads the Shell Series chase after pushing HRT's Red Barons all the way in the second round at WA.
Down the inside, Tander makes a move on Scape and takes second place. Trying to pull. Oh! Zach, between Will and Longhurst. Oh, no! Oh, no! Oh, no. Problems there. Baird's gone off, so too George Faulkner.
Welcome to the City of Churches as we await the start of the Clipsal 500 Adelaide. Round 3 of the 2000 Shell Championship Series. Live and exclusive to your home of high-octane motorsport. Network 10.
The weather and the crowds have been spectacular in Adelaide as this city embraces this event like no other. A Friday crowd of 43,000 indicates we'll have record-breaking support this weekend. And no doubt record-breaking racing as well. Hello, I'm Bill Woods. Welcome to Pit Lane in Adelaide for round 3 of the Shell Championship Series, the Clipsal 500. The engines are revving and so is the crowd, because if it's anything like last year's event, it'll be non-stop action. We had so much happen when this event debuted in 1999. It is still two 250-kilometre races with double championship points for the series, and that should mean very important points for every competitor in the championship. Let's take a look at what's on the menu today, and there is plenty again. The top 10 shootout highlights, we'll bring you those very soon. The GTP Nations Cup Race 1. The GTP series is so big now, the Nations Cup has evolved from that and is elite racing indeed. You'll be very impressed, I'm sure. Clipsal 500 Race 1, 250 kilometres, 80 points for the winner. That comes up this afternoon and again tomorrow. So stay with us all weekend on Network 10. Barry Sheen, welcome once again to you. Adelaide just does this event beautifully. There is 25% increase in corporate support, and they've all sold out this weekend. The main straight here just behind us, they put an extra 1,000 seats in. It seems to go on forever, Barry. It's amazing.
It's quite incredible. I was telling the Premier the other night, you know, this is the biggest touring car race in the world. It's the most money spent on the infrastructure to build the circuit. It has the best crowd attendance, and when you think Australia with only 19 million people, to have the biggest touring car race is quite an achievement, I think.
It is.
It's fantastic. The atmosphere here is totally amazing.
And the event has lived up to it, of course. If it hadn't done that, we wouldn't have the people coming back in droves again this year. And we must talk about what a great championship it is, Barry. It's been very good so far. Mobile Holden Racing Team, which is right behind us here, have been hard to catch, but they don't lead the championship.
Well, exactly that. Garth Tander leads at the moment. And when you see the field here, the top 22 cars covered in under a second. I mean, that is an amazing feat. You walk along here, you look at the quality of the teams now in this championship. It's just totally unbelievable.
I mentioned the weather earlier. It's been terrific here in the last couple of days, and the forecast is it'll stay that way for this event. Fine and sunny, mild to warm in the afternoon. Now, that 23 degrees is actually very, very important, because it becomes extremely hot here, particularly in the corridor that's formed in the main straight. And in the past, that has made it even more of a burden for drivers. They have to be extremely fit to compete in this race. And we'll talk a little later about some of the more intricate details of competing in the heat, and that is the fumes that are involved in V8 Supercars. That was a bit of a problem last year, but it has been overcome with some very interesting technology. We'll elaborate on that as the event unfolds. But right now, let's go to our chief commentators for this afternoon, Mark Osler and Greg Rust. And we've said it before, but after a year of double points for the Enduro rounds, Mark and Greg. The drivers really know this year just how important it is to perform in Adelaide.
They certainly do, Billy, and the importance, I guess, of playing it safe today. 80 points up for grabs today, 160 tomorrow. But what you're saying is quite right. It really changed the complexion of last year's championship. For Craig Lowndes, it helped him build, well, I guess, an unassailable lead in the series. But for his teammate Mark Scaife, well, many say it cost him the championship. Mark, talking about the complexion as well, there's been a lot of, I guess, alleged arguments this week about the performance disparity between Ford and Holden. The organisers are taking action, though.
Yeah, it looks like the performance review committee has been called back into action. They're the guys that try and keep an equal performance between the Ford and the Holden. They decided this week they've got to try and trim 0.3 of a second out of the performance of the Commodore per lap. Quite how they achieved that, I'm not sure. But when you look at the performance of the Fords in pre-qualifying here, they've been very quick. I think the arguments are going to be coming thick and fast, both in the courtroom and on the racetrack.
They certainly will be. Well, at the end of qualifying, there were 2 Fords at the top of the table. But at the end of the Super Pole, it was a very different story.
Bathurst champion Stephen Richards was shot down before the shootout began. Provisional qualifying ending at the panel beaters.
Oh, now what's he done there? He's got his back wheel up on the ripple strips and rush, doesn't he, drill that wall?
Richards' no-show in the one-lap dash earned him 10th fastest. The ride was smoother for Holden compatriot Jason Bargwanna, but he wasn't completely happy with his effort.
Bit of a shocker, really, wasn't it? No, look, yeah, it wasn't one of the world's greatest laps.
Bargwanna's early time didn't stand for long, as John Bowe set about reversing his slow start to the season.
Really got his work cut out for him this weekend. This is a very important race for the Caterpillar team.
Bowe pounced in his Cat Falcon, bettering the earlier mark set by Larry Perkins.
A 1:26.75, much faster than Perkins, so Bowe now goes to pole position.
Local favourite Russell Ingall was the next to navigate the concrete jungle. The enforcer pushing his Castrol Commodore and way to third quickest.
Looking good here, nice tidy lap so far, just honks a wheel up over the ripple strip.
Look, we're pretty happy. As long as we're in the top 10, we'll press on tomorrow. This thing is going all right.
Last year's Clipsal 500 winner Craig Lowndes, another Holden in a hurry.
Oh, Lowndes, wow, sideways over the ripple strips. The kid is trying.
But his hot lap wasn't enough. The 3-time Shell Series champion will start from the second row.
The car's going really well. The tyres are obviously everyone's concern, and just as long as we get the car up tomorrow in one piece, we'll be very happy.
This year's series leader Garth Tander attacked Ingall's time.
0.2 of a second quicker than our current pole sitter, Russell Ingall. This is a flyer.
The laid-back 22-year-old Valvoline Commodore flyer grabbing his first ever pole position.
A 1:26.03, Garth Tander goes to the top of the pile.
HRT qualifying specialist Mark Scaife couldn't get a grip.
Oh, gets very sideways as he comes through the centre chicane.
Scaife second in this year's championship and second on the grid.
A bit out of control through the first chicane and only just had hold of it.
The focus then turned to Ford Tickford ace Glenn Seaton, who surprised the Holden Brigade with some slick times in qualifying.
Seaton looking really smooth on the streets of Adelaide at the moment.
But he couldn't reproduce his speed. Costly mistakes leaving Seaton 6th fastest.
Oh, sideways.
That's going to cost him big time.
Falcon compatriot Paul Radisich also promised much after grabbing provisional pole earlier in the day. But reliability halted his charge.
And he's been very quick here all weekend. Can he follow that through when it counts? Put this car on pole position. Oh, no, we've got a problem here. He's slowed right down.
Now, what's going wrong there?
The ignition just cut and it just stopped dead. I managed to sort of get it refired, but there was misfiring and what a disappointment.
Better today than tomorrow.
Shit happens, eh, Barry?
So there you have it, Mark Scaife, the qualifying specialist, unable to do anything about Tander's time. Tander underneath the current lap record. Russell Ingall well placed in what is essentially, I guess, his home crowd. And watch out for Larry Perkins as well. That car is mounted with air conditioning, if you can believe it. We'll run you right through the whole starting order here. So for those of you following someone further down the order, stay tuned.
Paul Radisich, you saw him in trouble with the ignition there. Hopefully the boys have fixed up. They've worked all night on that car. Stephen Richards, the car repaired. He'll take the grid. Mark Larkham performing strongly in the Ford. Cameron McLean, good effort from the Queensland privateer. Steve Ellery and John Faulkner, his back's okay. He's going to make the start today out of 16.
Greg Murphy finished second here last year, but he's a lot further back than he'd like to be at the moment. Watch the Murph, though. They've got some good cooling systems, and he should do quite well indeed. And further back through the pack, Matthew Coleman and Dean Canto, our round one winner from the Konica V8 Lights. So there you go, Billy. A huge field of cars set to do battle again on the streets of Adelaide.
All these seats are sold out in Adelaide, so when the race kicks off, they will absolutely pack this corridor here down the main straight, and there are facilities and stands all around this marvellous circuit here. The hills in the background, great atmosphere. We hope you'll share it with us over the next 4 hours on the 10 Network. Stay there.
Most embarrassing moment?
I'd have to say after 15 or 20 years of driving race cars, sitting on the grid at Calder stalled and watching everyone past me was not one of my better days.
Oh, I'd definitely have to be sleeping in my first test with the Valvoline Cummins race team. They got there about 8 in the morning and I was still in bed.
Well, probably when I was 15 and bragging how I was going to get my licence for the first time and missing on the practical side. I guess that was pretty embarrassing, believe me.
Well, it's actually a little bit personal, so I can't really go into detail in it, but I don't think my wife wants to say what it is either, but I think we'll keep that one personal. Hope it doesn't happen again.
If you had any doubts about the personality of the drivers on display over the weekend here at the Clipsal 500 in Adelaide, if you watch V8 Superstars, the panel show, and of course hear from them, you'll know that they're a very interesting bunch indeed. They not only go fast on the track, but they're very articulate and great ambassadors for the sport. And their performances have been amazing so far in 2000. Let's look at the championship points now. And Barry Sheen, it's remarkable to see Garth Tander driving with such maturity and so consistently this year.
Well, it's so good for him because his team is a really, really professional setup on that. And when you consider they're in front of the factory HRT lot, I mean, that's so good for Gary. It's really good.
Paul Morris at a remarkable debut, 88 points, of course, Super Touring champion and Bathurst winner in that category, but making a full run at the V8s this year and doing a very, very good job of it. Stephen Richards, a remarkable driver, twice Bathurst winner in the V8 category, but struggling just a little bit in the championship this year. But there's a long way to go, and as we said, that's why the double points are so important. Holden has a record-equaling 10-round winning streak underway at the moment. You have to go back to 1974 and 76 when the Tiranas took all before them for the General's big performance. So they could break that this weekend, but of course the big record overall in the Touring Car Championship is Sierra, the Ford Sierra, and that is a record streak of 15 in 1988 and 89. So Fords are looking to get back into that sort of form here in Adelaide. A new comer to our telecast this weekend. He'll be patrolling the pits for us. He'll do a marvellous job, I know. Grant Denyer, welcome to the team, and I'm sure you're in for a busy weekend because it's that kind of race.
Yes, thanks, Bill. It is fantastic to be here, and isn't this atmosphere just absolutely electric? But down in the pits, it's going to be quite frantic through these races, of course. 2 compulsory pit stops, 1 for tyres, 1 for fuel. But one team that is just happy to be here this morning is the Kmart team, and especially Steve Richards' car. After a crash in qualifying yesterday, Marty Bryant, how is the car? Will you be on the grid?
Yeah, the car will be on the grid in 10th spot. We're pretty happy with how it's come up. It's a credit to the guys of how well it is looking, and it shows the depth of talent in the Kmart team that we can do it in such a short time.
A late night last night?
Yeah, we worked till 4 o'clock and we're back here at 7 this morning.
Can you get much feel from the car in the opening practice this morning? How do you think it will go? Will they run with them?
Yeah, Steve is very happy that the car's good and it'll be a good race package.
Thank you, Marty.
Thank you.
Grant Denyer there, trackside, and just to mention the trackside program, which will be coming up very soon in the coming weeks on Network 10, which will have all of the support categories that you'll see here in Adelaide. Fantastic. Let's look at the street circuit in more detail. Just over 3 kilometres. It's mostly the old Grand Prix circuit here, which was so successful at Adelaide in the late 80s to early 90s. Jason Bright with the lap record, now competing in Indy Lights. That's the feeder series to the Kart World Series in the United States. But right now, let's ride with one of our greats, Neil Crompton, as he takes a look with the Ford inside line.
Hey Billy, look at this. One of the world's finest street circuits here for the Clipsal 500 in Adelaide. This is a great little circuit. The turn 1 chicane, normal approach about 210 k's. You pound up over the concrete there across the traffic island. Lined by concrete, absolutely no room for error. Coming up Wakefield Street to the first 90-degree right-hander. These are all blind, second gear. About 80 k's through the corner, up to about 130 k's in between. Another blind corner, up towards East Terrace. Hard on the gas. bounce, little bit of wheel spin, concrete, dust, tyres, you name it, we've got it all here. And this is a real street fight for the drivers. Absolutely no time to rest at all. This is about the only opportunity you get. Second, third, fourth, under the VB side. I wouldn't buy one of those at the moment. Fifth, 230 odd Ks, hard on the brakes. Back to third, pound this curve, leap up on Hungerl, that's the way. Up to about 200 odd Ks down here, break at about the 100 metre mark, back to second. First because we're a little bit off the pace just doing this lap. Back to the infield part of the circuit, the permanent course, not the actual street circuit. Up to third, back to second, past the back of the pits. Can't jump out too wide here because of the ripple strip. Third, fourth. Run towards the final corner. Use a little bit of the ripple strip on the right-hand side. Careful not to overcook this one. A lot of marbles on the outside. Back to second. And there's that huge crowd in the grandstand. As we complete one lap of the Adelaide Street Circuit, Billy, it's a ripper.
A driver's eye view of this marvellous circuit here for the Clipsal 500, and we wish Cromley all the best. After a tough couple of days, he went very well in this morning's warm-up, so we expect a good race from him. Well, if you're expecting to spend a couple of $100,000 on a...
Russell Ingall. Now, Russell, it hasn't been a brilliant year for you so far, has it?
No, it hasn't, but it's shining up. You know me, Barry, always coming on a bit late, but no, it's coming along quite well today, and we're very pleased. It's nice to qualify third and up the pointy end. Better class of people up there, but saying that, Scapey's in front of me, so that blows that theory.
What about race plan?
Look, just go flat. I mean, I can't. I think there's going to be a few that's going to take it a bit easy because they're worried about their championship points. Because of my disaster at Phillip Island, I'm looking for points. So, mate, I'm going to go flat out and I'll take advantage of them being a bit tender.
Yeah, I was going to say, I can't see you holding back ever.
No. I mean, even though the big points are up tomorrow, I've got to get all the points I can so I can get up that championship point table. So, mate, I'm going to hold it flat.
Best of luck, Rusty.
Thanks, dude.
Over to you, Ben. With Craig. Now, what are you two discussing?
We're just worrying about this thing just coming up.
Oh, look at that!
Look at that! If we had that horsepower, we'd be going really good.
It's like Top Gun, isn't it? That is incredible, isn't it? So what are you discussing then? That you're going to just move out of the way and let
hang on there, Barry.
We chose the right time to do this, of course. Perfect. So what are you discussing? You're just going to move out of the way and let Ray pass, are you?
Oh, look, I wouldn't think so, but I mean, we'll just do our best to begin with and try to stay at a strife. It's on full tanks, the cars will be pretty hard to drive for the first 20 laps.
I tell you what was amazing last year here, that everybody got through the chicane and really, you know, it's really come of age in that fashion, hasn't it?
Well, it has.
From Rusty, of course.
Well, he's on his suspended sentence, so he's clear, he's all right. He never gets his money out, he wouldn't do it anyway.
All right, well, best of luck, guys.
Thanks, Barry.
So you have a good, safe race.
Thanks, Bowie.
Okay, Bowie. Grant.
Well, Russell Ingall, your cars are built for endurance races. You'll probably be in one of the best positions despite not being on the front row.
Not complaining. Mind you, I've got a few hard charges around me as well. It's going to be a good couple of laps, but no, look, we're very pleased. El Castro Commodore, she's humming along quite well, and I think we might surprise a few people by race end.
Now, you're called the enforcer, but what sort of tactic or attitude are you taking towards this 250k race?
Well, mate, I'm a little bit down on the championship board due to a bad round at Phillip Island the first round, so I've got to get all the points I can. So a few of these other guys who's up the pointy end of the championship will be conservative. I won't be. I'm just going to go flat out and both races, and I've got to get a heap of points, get me back up the front.
Now, fitness is obviously isn't a problem for a gun like yourself?
Absolutely. I mean, it is. I've taken the Barry Sheen fitness regime, and I don't know whether that's good or bad, but no, look, we're all right. We did a lot of work leading up to this race, especially after we knew how hard it was last year. So, mind you, a lot of the drivers have, which means a faster pace.
Thanks, Russell. Good luck.
Cheers.
Barry?
Right, I'm with Glenn. So how are you feeling, Glenn?
I feel pretty good. It's going to be a hell of a long day, Barry, in this heat. And it's probably something that most of us are probably looking forward to the race, but not looking forward to the heat. But it's going to be interesting. It's going to be a fairly long race. It's going to be something that's it's going to be really hard to work strategies out because we can't pit under the pace car this year. So it's going to be quite different, but it's a race that I'm really looking forward to.
That's really going to be a struggle, isn't it? Because if you leave it too long and then all of a sudden the pace car comes out, what happens then?
Well, that's exactly right. You've got to get it all done early, I think. There's no doubt about that. And there's also a wind window between 15 laps of 57 that you've got to do your pit stops in. Yeah. So you've got to work all that out and also get the pace cars right. If you can get all your stops done before the pace car, you're in for a good chance.
Best of luck, Ace.
Thanks, Barry.
Cheers. Best of luck.
Well, I'm here with John Bowe. John Bowe, you've had a great track record here at this circuit. Are you hoping to repeat that?
Sorry, mate, I didn't hear the question.
You've had a great track record here. You're hoping for another success.
Well, in the old days of the Grand Prix, we had some really good races here. We had some bad races. I mean, that's the way motor racing is. But I think it's a fantastic event. I just met the Premier, and I'd have to congratulate him and his cabinet for supporting this event. It's, I think it's a trend-setting thing to happen to V8 Supercars. I think we'll see more of it, and I'd like to be in a good position at the end of both races. So,
I see you running with the cool suit as well. Is that a must for this event?
Well, we're doing a bit of experimentation with it, Grant. At the end of the race, if I look like a lobster, you'll know it didn't work.
All right, excuse me, I just can't quite hear a thing. Barry?
Nor can I. Larry and I'm standing with Larry Perkins, who's just marvelling at the aeroplanes. So how are you feeling then, Larry?
Well, I'm feeling pretty good. Very happy with my qualifying spot. I'm like on the pace effectively. I've got to just drive it sensibly. The guys in the pit, they've got to do their thing properly. We've got to get through this race.
Somebody told me you got air conditioning in the car.
I have. Look, when I turned 50, I thought I'll give myself a birthday, and so I got this air conditioner, and blows cold air over me. It's beautiful.
Great. So isn't Russell moaning because he hasn't got one?
Oh, God, he's a young bloke. They shouldn't need air conditioning. I never had air conditioning for 50 years.
Right. What do you reckon the first chicane here then?
Well, this long grid, the long way between cars, I don't think there's going to be the slightest problem. I think you'll find we won't have too many incidents.
Great. All right, best of luck, Larry. Over to you, Bill. Best of luck.
Well, it is certainly difficult enough to concentrate at an event like this, but with those FA-18s flying overhead, just repeating, Squadron Leader James Wally and Squadron Leader Pete Budd. I've been here a few times for not only this event, but for the Grand Prix, and I can tell you I've never seen one fly so low. I thought he was going to back it into pole position. It was amazing. Right above our heads here, and it is just the appetizer for what should be a marvellous event. You saw the countdown. Very soon you'll hear the rumble of the V8s and our commentators. Stay with us on Network 10 for the Clipsal 500.
Front row, Garth Tander on pole position, and isn't he starting to apply some pressure to the factory Holden racing team? Chased them all the way in WA. Now he finds himself taking his first career pole. Extraordinary achievement. There's the Auto Pro Commodore of Cameron McConville. Seems to be doing a lot of testing recently. They got a lot of speed out of the car in a test at Winton, and they put some new shock absorbers. They're very happy with it, but they've come to this track, and all that data, all that speed that they found at Winton has basically gone out the window.
Another guy to keep a close eye on there, we saw towards the back as well, young Paul Wheel in the K&J Radiators Falcon. He has been showing some quite good turns of speed lately. This is his first ever assault, though, on the streets of Adelaide, so it'll be interesting to see how he goes.
See the heat haze there. Evocative shot of the Adelaide street circuit, 3.2 kilometres the distance. And here's the way they'll start the Shell Helix grid for the Clipsal 500 in 2000. Garth Tander and Mark Scaife will start off the front row. Russell Engel and Craig Lowndes behind them. The first of the Fords, John Bowe and the Caterpillar AU Falcon. Glenn Seaton alongside. Larry Perkins will start behind them.
We go back to row 5. Paul Radisich alongside Stephen Richards, Larkham and McLean, Longhurst and Poole, then Steve Ellery alongside John Faulkner.
Neil Crompton and Greg Murphy, Stephen Johnson, Brad Jones and Craig Begg. Tough day for Stephen yesterday. He got very little track time. Trevor Ashby, Thomas Mazira and Todd Kelly in the Holden Young Lions car.
We go further back, Dougal McDougall, Paul Morris. There's Paul Wheel we were talking about before, and young gun Cameron McConville. Peter Dillman in the Team Gatorade entry.
Paul Romano, one of the 3 cars starting the pit lane after a breakdown in communications. So it's a tough start for some of the semi-professional teams as this field heads off and warms up the cars for what will be one of the toughest touring car races ever. Race 1 of the Clipsal 500, 250 kilometres. Absolute torture. Tough on drivers, tough on cars, tough on the pit crew. should be an unbelievable contest.
I tell you what, Mark, it's really a lot hotter than the temperature actually says. You know, when you're down there walking around on the grid, it is really hot, and you can see on Glenn Seaton's photo.
Oh, Gary Holt, and one of the Konica V8 Lights drivers who did so well at Eastern Creek a couple of weeks ago. Now, he's been invited here to start at the Clipsal 500, but start this car will not. The Eastern Creek karting machine ran so strongly throughout practice, but they can't get the car started. What a tragedy if they can't get this going. Well, there he goes.
He's got it going.
You talked there before, Baz, about the awesome heat at Adelaide, and that's something we'll take the time to talk about during the course of the race. There are a lot of different innovations that teams are using to try and keep cool.
Well, it's amazing. I can't believe that Larry is the first one, Mark, to have air conditioning in his car, isn't he? That's great. Well, it has to be worth a second a lap when you're right into the race.
Here's your Ford race analysis. 40 starters in this one. 78 laps is the distance, 250 Ks. The first of 2 races here this weekend. We'll clarify the pit stop situation for you. There are 2 separate stops, one for fuel and one for tyres. You can't do the other in the designated stop. For example, you can't do tyres during your fuel stop or fuel during your tyre stop.
Word from down on the track side, it's 33 degrees. The ambient temperature. And the way it works out with these cars, that's effectively 60 degrees Celsius inside a V8 Supercar. Can you imagine the enormous heat stress on these racing drivers? Are sitting in this cocoon, track temperature of 35 degrees, so it may even be higher than 60 degrees by the time these guys get out and racing.
And you know, the floor panels in the V8s, they get so hot that it actually burns the driver's boots.
Quite incredibly tough.
So these guys are really going to be working very, very hard today. And don't forget, of course, 80 points up for grabs today, 160 tomorrow. So it is important to, I guess, perform well today, but conserve the car as well for the all-out assault on tomorrow's second 250K race. And not just looking after your car, looking after yourself as well.
I think Garth Tander said it best. I spoke to him earlier this morning. He said it's effectively 2 250K sprints. There's no enduro about this stuff anymore. It's just, you just got to get out there and drive every lap like a qualifier. And the physical and mental demands on the drivers,
enormous.
It's just incredible.
You may wonder, of course, why if they do events like the Bathurst 1000, why an event like this would be so tough on them. It's because a long 250K stint, they don't normally do one stint like that at a place like Bathurst, not 250Ks in one go.
Well, the other thing too, Greg, the nature of Mount Panorama gives you a couple of big straights where you can actually catch your breath, but round here it's so hard. 2,500 gear changes each driver will make over the course of 250 kilometres. So that's 5,000 changes for the weekend.
Mark Poole, you can see there in 14th place. That is the best ever qualifying effort in his VT in the John Deere Commodore. Just waiting for the rest of them to settle in at the back of the pack. And then we'll be underway. Mick Donoghue in the Ultra Tune TDK Racing Commodore. There's Anthony Tradd in the Toll Racing Falcon as well.
That was a good result for Mark Poole in the John Deere car. That was his best qualifying performance ever. Nice to do it on home soil for the South Australian.
It's pretty strange to start around the corner, isn't it?
It certainly is. Just shows how huge this field is here. Looks like Gary Holt coming into pit lane as well there, so problems for that Ford, which they managed to push start. Getting set for a green flag situation, folks. These are the world's best touring cars, and this is the biggest touring car race in the world. The first of 2 250K races, an electrifying street fight that they call the Clipsal 500. All in readiness, the revs rise. Will it be Lowndes? Will it be Skate? Will it be Tander? Who will get the run to the centre chicane for the first time? The Clipsal 500 is go! And Tander, a great start there.
I think Skate just about got it.
They run to centre chicane for the first time, and Skate dives down the inside of Tander, so Skate takes the lead. Tander in second place, Russell in third. Goodness me, they're all through the centre chicane, but they're going 3 wide through there.
Well, if this is a sprint round, you wouldn't see the field get through there, but Tander has muscled up the inside. Great start from the Valvoline Cummins man off pole position. This big field threads their way through the concrete-lined streets of Adelaide. Magnificent sight.
Just a massive field, isn't it, when you look at it? Incredible.
So important at this early stage, too, to keep it off the walls. Tander, a tremendous performance in this early stage. The 23-year-old has settled into the lead. And look at them riding the curves. Steve Johnson, Paul Wheel. Tander leads the field through Speed Stick Turn, off the Adelaide Straight, onto the Brabham Straight for the first time. Then it's the 2 Holden Racing Team Commodores following in pursuit. Scaife, followed by the defending
reigning champion, Craig Lowndes.
Everyone will be holding their breath. There's no spin down here. The hairpin up the inside. One of the Kmart Commodores. But keep in mind these cars, their tyres aren't up to optimum temperature. It takes 2 or 3 laps before they're working at their best. They're also carrying a full tank of fuel. So the car's very, very skaty in these opening laps. The drivers have got to be careful.
And make their way now towards Clipsal turn. And then onto the start-finish straight. That will complete lap 1 of 78. Here on the streets of Adelaide. Stephen Richards doing great things at the moment in the Kmart Commodore after that shocking crash in the course of qualifying. Now, what's happening
going on here?
This is on lap 1.
Oh, it's Anthony Tratt. Yeah, it just looks basically sort of understeer straight on by the looks of it. But we didn't see what happened at the beginning of it.
So the 2 Red Barons had their wings clipped at Adelaide this weekend so far. Garth Tander in the Valvoline Cummins car takes pole position from the factory cars. Mark Scape in behind, Lowndes right behind him. And then Russell Ingall, the enforcer, back on form on the streets of Adelaide. He knows how important this is. 240 points up for grabs if you can win both races.
Word from the pit is Anthony Tratt has rejoined the field right at the very back of the pack in behind the likes of Smurden and Coleman, who started from pit lane, but Tander continues to lead the field in the Valvoline Cummins Commodore. Here's your championship leader by just 2 points over the guy who currently runs in second place, Mark Scape. The defending Adelaide winner, Craig Lowndes, sits in third. And then it's the enforcer, the local boy, trying to turn it on for the home crowd, Russell Ingall.
Yeah, when you think about it, Ingall has nothing to lose, really. You know, where the other guys are looking after their championship situation, Tander as an example. Russell is really very badly off the points at the moment. So if anybody's going to let anything to risk, it'd have to be Ingall, you'd say.
It's been a much better weekend for one of the FTR Falcons anyway. This one being driven by Glenn Seaton. The switch to this new Bridgestone control tyre, he said, has actually helped the balance of the car. He's getting a lot more speed out of it. You can see here, he is right up with the fastest Falcon from qualifying, the Caterpillar Ford of John Bower. So a much better run for Seaton. Neil Crompton, his teammate. This weekend, the car is being engineered by a couple of Ford engineers. It's been brought in by Howard Marsden. But Crompton not running nearly as well in the opening laps of this one. He's really struggled throughout qualifying. Let's have a look back through the field.
What's happening here?
Crompton up the inside and that's Cameron McLean. Oh dear me, that was a bit of bad luck.
Now that might have been Stephen Johnson got caught up.
Stephen's got a whack from the other side as well.
Mark Poole did very well to avoid
that line.
Yeah.
Call him Houdini next time.
Good battle of the Fords. You can see that Commodore quartet at the front. Then there's the first of the Falcons. John Bower, Glenn Seaton in behind, and the Rat, Paul Radisich. Hugely disappointed after the top 10 shootout yesterday. Some sort of a electronic gremlin in the car's engine management system. And Seaton just on the inside as they come under brakes. He's monstering the back of the Caterpillar Ford.
You'd have to say this is the best Seaton's thing's looked all the whole year, isn't it?
It really is, yeah.
Fastest man on the circuit last time around was Tander, your race leader, a 1:28.34. And he's at the top of the standings. Look at Seaton trying to have a go at John Bower here as we work towards Mistral turn. The last turn as they come onto the front straight, and he does it under brakes. Well done.
Good one. Nice.
Oh, no, there's Radisich coming too.
Radisich is there. You can't leave any space for the old Rat, can you? He's there.
I think Stephen Richards wants a slice of the action. He got a good run out of that corner, but not quite enough speed. Oh, look at this battle.
Oh, Radisich.
So it took a few laps to settle in. Now the tyres are up to temperature. The boys are getting stuck into it. Look at Radisich. Has a look up the inside of Bower, but there's no room there. Richards, that's a miraculous job by the Kmart team to repair that car.
I'm really surprised, Mark, they're using the curb so much at the first chicane, because Ingall's thing during qualifying, he whacked the curb and bent the steering arm. So I'm really surprised the guys are using it so much, especially in a race this long.
Yeah, it's very, very tough on the equipment.
This really is proof, even at this early stage, of Garth Tander's comments. These guys are treating this, I know it's early days, lap 4 of 78. They are treating this like a sprint and then some. Look at Radisich through there, up on 2 wheels. Tander, that's even Russell. No, Larry. That's Larry Perkins.
Larry.
Now, did he hit the wall there?
And that's on the exit of Speed Stick turn.
He did too. Look at the damage on the left-hand side of the car.
Oh, that's a fair old... Wow, yeah, that's done the...
Didn't see the early part of that.
Hang on a second. We've got 2 different things going. No, sorry.
Didn't see the early part of that accident, whether Larry got turned around, but there was a pretty torrid battle going on back there. And look at the damage to the Castrol Commodore. We'll have a look at that on a replay in a few moments' time. Hopefully Larry can limp that back to the pitch, but that's going to be a huge disappointment for the 50-year-old. He was really pumped up about this race this weekend, complete with his new air conditioning system.
I have to say, I don't think they're going to get that sorted out.
Brad Jones.
Brad Jones. Oh, and John Faulkner, did he get whacked?
Oh, yes.
Look at that.
Now, Brad's in a very vulnerable position there. Hopefully no one else managed to clip him.
Oh, damn. He just about got reverse at the right time, didn't he?
No wonder he picked reverse.
Yeah.
Now, that happened before that incident we saw involving Larry Perkins. So we'll try and get a shot of that for you as well and find out what happened to Larry. Larry has come into the pits now. Radicic has gotten around John Bowe in the Caterpillar Ford. So will the Flat Cat prove to be good luck or bad luck today for John Bowe? At the moment, Radicic is flying.
Yep, the Rat is on the march. Just put in a very quick time. Fastest man on the circuit at the moment is Tander, though. He's at his quickest lap, the previous one at 1:27.74.
Looks like the end of the day for Larry, I would say.
Let's go to Grant Denyer.
Well, Larry Perkins has decided to park the car. He missed his pit and he had to be pushed back by his team members. But it looks like, yep, he's called it a day. The damage doesn't seem to be too bad down the left-hand side. Lots of scraping marks, a little bit damage in the front left, but it doesn't even look like a tyre's rubbing. Well, looking at the tyre, there is a little bit rubbing, but there's not too much more than that, so it's quite unusual.
Brad Jones in the pitch too in the Aussie Mail Ford. You can see he was in trouble there, but they've decided to send him out again. So, baptism of fire for Bradley Jones, his first V8 Supercar appearance on the streets of Adelaide. And the Aussie Mail Ford gets a handicap straight off Garth Tander. Here's the battle for the lead. Mark Scape in second, Lowndes in third, Ingle in fourth. And you can see the flame belching from the side of the Holden Racing Team Commodores. Let's have a look on the Shell Helix replay. We might get a look at what happened to Perkins there.
Look, he hit the tyres.
Yeah, he collided with the tyres.
Now, that's all on his own, too.
Yeah.
So the officials have put those tyres in there to try and stop the cars riding the curve. They've been doing it all week.
They stopped Larry for sure.
Wow. Look at the damage it did to the Commodore. They must weigh a fair bit.
Back at the front, this is the same place Larry went off right here. Speed stick turn on the exit of the Adelaide Straight and coming on to the Brabham Straight. And Radicic has been able to pull clear of Bowe here, and Bowe is slipping back into the clutches of a hard-charging Stephen Richards. Despite that crash during yesterday's qualifying, he's doing very, very well in the Kmart Commodore at the moment.
I have to say, putting the tyres there, I think is a bit silly because it's inevitable that somebody's going to run in there and whack the tyres. You saw on the little sort of chicane there, it's asking to be hit and it's going to knock it into somebody else. And at the end of the day, the curves are high enough, it's going to do enough damage to the car if they run them anyway.
John Bowe's going to be fighting for every point here. 44-year-old veteran from Devonport in Tasmania. He's had a terrible start to his Shell Series campaign. 25th in the championship at the moment, coming under fire from the Kmart Holdens. Grant.
Well, Larry Perkins, wow, you've put the car away. What happened?
I just gave everyone a demonstration of how you don't go about winning races.
You're saying it's your own fault?
Oh, yeah. I got too close behind, I think it was Stephen Richards, and missed my braking point and arrived there too quick and brushed the tyres. So, yeah, totally avoidable.
On the surface, it doesn't look like too much damage. And obviously isn't the case.
Bent the steering a bit, so we can't race like that, so we've got to fix that and move on.
Take another car. Good luck.
Hard luck for Larry, 6 times a winner at Mount Panorama, but has never won an Australian Touring Car Championship, so this would have been valuable points for him. Now, we're getting word from some officials here that Paul Wheel may have spun somewhere on the circuit as well, so we'll try and confirm that. Looks as though the K&J team, here's a replay, Barry.
Yeah, you'd have to say that...
Paul Morris.
Yeah, Paul Morris turned in a bit, you know, as far as I'm concerned, Paul Wheel was right up there as halfway past, and it looks to me like Morris sort of turned in. If we can get another look at it again, it's... what do you reckon? What did you see?
That's the second time John Faulkner's been very lucky. He just managed to miss Brad Jones earlier on. He's avoided that one, so maybe luck riding with the Asia Online team at Adelaide today.
We saw Garth Tander sneak into the 127s. He was the first to do it, a 127.4, his best lap, and now everyone else seems to be starting to do the same. Scape is into the 127, so too Lowndes. We go further back, Seaton and Radicic now. That is the Aussie Mail Falcon of Brad Jones. He's come back into the pits. This is rotten luck for the guy from Albury. Now, what's happened
happening here? That looks like a stop-go penalty.
Stop and go.
Well, he might have been speeding in pit lane the last time he came in. We haven't heard that from the pits, but it's quite often a penalty in the heat of a race. You're feeling anxious, you want to get into the pits, get the car repaired and get out there as fast as possible. It's very easy to exceed that 60km/h speed limit. So not sure if that was the case, but probably a likely one in the heat of battle. There's Craig Baird in the Pertec Falcon. We've had it confirmed from pits it was in fact speeding in pit lane, so Brad Jones is just going to have to cool it a bit, try and get his rhythm back, because this is a long race.
Lap 8 of 78, and you can see there both Mark Poole and Craig Baird coming through both of those cars, the Commodore and the Falcon respectively, sporting battle scars. This is John Faulkner in the Asia Online Commodore.
All right,
this
now
is
let's have a look at this. Another look at this. Well, he's definitely halfway past. What do you reckon?
Yeah, look where he's hit him.
Yeah, there you go. It's I think that was a little bit unnecessary.
I think under the V8 Supercar driver etiquette rules, if you're alongside the B pillar, it's considered your corner.
You see Russell just whack the tyres there, Mark. You see, look, they've knocked the wrapping off them.
Well, they're really trying here on the streets of Adelaide at the moment. The young gun, 23-year-old Garth Tander leads from Scape and Lowndes, the Holden Racing duo. Then it's Ingle, Seaton, Radicic, John Bow and Stephen Richards doing great things in the Kmart Commodore. Bargwanna, Murphy, Larkham, Longhurst, Ellery and Crompton. Stay with us here on the streets of Adelaide.
What?
Back to Adelaide's Clipsal 500, where the battle for the lead is in fact the battle for the championship. Tander, Scape and Lowndes, top 3 in the championship, top 3 here in the race, and chasing them hard in 4th is 10th in the championship, Russell Ingle. He seriously needs the points. He's on 98 right now, more than 100 off the lead, and this is a very important weekend for him.
You're talking about someone vitally in need of points there, Billy, and of course Greg Murphy is one of those. He started out of grid position 18 and he's moved up to 10th. So Murphy, who finished 2nd here last year, is making big inroads in the Kmart Commodore.
Well, we hear from pit lane that Paul Morris is going to have to serve a stop-go penalty, and I would guess that would be for that incident down at the hairpin. We'll find out as the race unfolds. Paul Morris and the Big Kev Commodore will soon be heading for pit lane to serve a stop-go penalty as the Kmart Commodore. Stephen Richards, miraculous rebuild by the Gibson Motorsport team overnight. Boys were working on that till 4 a.m. this morning.
That was so badly damaged, wasn't it? I mean, the engine house and everything was so bad.
We're also watching two, I guess, very different approaches to the Clipsal 500 here. Mark Warner has got the 260 series air conditioning, the 2 windows down. And of course, Stephen has got a radical cooling system in his car. It runs filtered air, if you like, through his helmet. There is also an ice box around the back area of his seat. So the area from his middle of his back to the lower back area. In behind the seat there is an ice box, so it's designed to keep his lower back nice and cool. So that could come in very handy in the latter stages of this race.
It's funny you talk about the different philosophies in looking after the drivers. I was talking to Valvoline Cummins, engine builder Mike Exel yesterday, and he said, we don't fuss around about our drivers like that. We make sure that the engine's looked after first and we just strap the drivers onto them. Typical engine builder. So there's a great battle here. Stephen Richards and Jason Bargwanna. This is the battle for 8th position. John Bow just up ahead in 7th. The order at the moment, Tander, 1.4 seconds the gap over the Holden Racing Team duo. Ingle in 4th, Seaton 5th, Radicic 6th, Bow 7th, and this is the battle for 8th.
Tander 127.74.83, his best. The top 3 all in the 127. So the Valvoline Cummins Commodore and the 2 Holden Racing Team Commodores looking good on the streets of Adelaide. Stephen Richards continues to try and break free of Jason Bargwanna. Word through from the pits is that Stephen Ellery has come in the super cheap Falcon, and the bonnet is up. From what we can gather, the boys are looking a little perplexed, trying to figure out what's going wrong now. This is Paul Morris making his way down pit lane for the stop-go penalty in the Big Kev Racing Commodore. So Paulie has been doing quite well in the championship so far when you consider that there are several guys who've made the transition from super touring. McConville, Jones, who's just in front of him, and of course Paul, I guess of all 3 of them, has been performing the best. But boy, oh boy, he's been caught up in a few altercations.
I think it's a good call by the officials. You know, if they're going to start doing this with drivers, if they cut people up or whatever it is, that's good. You know, it's Colin Bond's involved in it now, and I think that's going to be good for the sport.
Let's go trackside, Brad.
Yeah, I'm down here at Stephen Ellery's pit. There seems to be a fair bit of steam coming from the left-hand side of
moving our way through the traffic nicely. You know, we're looking very good for a top. We're looking very good for a top 5 finish, but it's not to be.
Guys.
Yeah, this is the nature of this race. Very high attrition rate at the 500 kilometres around Adelaide. It just really is so tough on equipment, and they're starting to fall. Great disappointment for the Super Chief team. Stephen Ellery qualifying well inside the top 20, looking for a competitive run today, but you've got to keep going. And that's the big test. There's Radicic sneaking through, shot in 6th. Bow in 7th. There's that battle we were watching before. 8th and 9th. 10th is Greg Murphy. And there's a really good battle here between Mark Larkham, Tony Longhurst, and Neil Crompton, clawing his way back after a dismal qualifying performance. He really has been struggling with the car this weekend, but looks like he's coming strong, coming good in the races, as he always tends to do. Mitre 10 camera looking out the back at the Caltex Haviland Ford of Tony Longhurst. The most experienced driver in the field at the moment, Longhurst. 137 championship starts. Well, I tell you, the last time he won a round was 1992. It's been a long time between drinks, so Longhurst comes up the inside. Larkham gives him racing room. He doesn't want to swap paint this early in the race.
Now, keep in mind, as they come across the start-finish line this time around, they're on lap 15 of 78. The pit window is now open. Oh, look at that. Yeah, there's some damage to the front of Larkham's car there. And now, did that happen in the course of the pass? It did, I
think he just clipped. It was just a bit of contact between Longhurst and the Mitre 10 car. Just as they came out of that turn, it's been enough to dislodge the front spoiler. And this is what I'm saying. I mean, it's just so important to go well in these endurance races with so many points on them, and a simple mistake like that can cost you so dearly. He's going to have to come into the pits.
Goodness me, that is rotten luck for Larkham. He has struggled here this weekend. They've found it a little more difficult to come to terms with this new Bridgestone control tyre than other teams have. Other teams have really gotten the grips of it very, very, very quickly. Crompton now making his way past him as they go down Adelaide Straight. Word from the pits is that Larkham will come in, and no wonder with all that damage.
It is a problem that it is a shame, I should say, that the aerodynamic additions to the bodywork on these cars are so brittle that you can't rub panels like that without dislodging the thing. I mean, it's a $2,500 item.
Seemed to come off so easily.
Yeah, just like he unpicked it there. But whatever's caused it, Larkham is going to have to come in and get it repaired or take it off and change it to another one. That's going to cost him a stack of time.
Pit window, as I mentioned, folks, is open between 15 and 57. They've got 2 separate stops they must make under the rules for this race. 1 for tyres and 1 for fuel. And we'll
hang on. He's not coming in this lap.
Goodness me.
Maybe the boys in the pits weren't ready for it. That means he's got to limp around for another lap. 3.2 kilometres. Larkham will be fuming. He's got to keep his cool. Where we hear from the pits is spoken to his pit crew and said, boys, can you hang over the concrete wall as I come through this time and have a look at it? I reckon the diagnosis would have been pretty negative. That thing's just grinding itself away on the road as we take the B clear and simple telemetry on board the Mitre 10 Falcon.
From the Mitre 10 Ford as Larkham continues around the streets of Adelaide. Now, what the team were concerned about, we're told, is that they didn't think Larkham was inside the pit window. So not only do they want to take advantage of trying to fix this problem, they also want to try and complete the first of their 2 stops.
Well, the interesting thing is, under the compulsory rules, you can't refuel when you're changing tyres, and you can't change tyres when you're refueling. But I don't think there's anything in the regulations that says you can't undertake some body repairs while you're doing one of those 2 stops. So I think what the Mitre 10 team is going to try and do, well, they might have been trying to hold out to lap 15 for the compulsory pit stop window to open, but they're going to come in earlier than that. This is going to be costly for Larko. Let's go to Grant Denyer.
Well, Larko was staying out to see whether he had any other damage, and apparently, according to his pit, he's got some front bar damage. So they're going to try and fix both while he comes in for this pit stop. I can't quite see around the front, but yeah, so that's terrible news for them.
One thing they'll be keeping a close
close eye on here too is that if they do this tyre stop, which they are doing at the moment, they will also need to take a special strip off the back of the car. There is an orange one and a green one. The orange one is for fuel and the green one is for tyres. So if they don't take that strip off, under the rules, they must come in and do a separate stop to complete it again.
Yeah, well, I hope in all this flurry of activity, the team can keep a cool head. That's such a great shame, isn't it? Mitre 10 Falcon, something like that can just cost you so much time. Here comes a new front spoiler section. Composite, made of fiberglass and Kevlar. Very lightweight, so they can attach to the car in only a few moments. There's Mark Larkham taking a drink from his drink straw. So they're going to have to drill a new hole in the guard because the bodywork has been damaged. It won't line up with its original pins. And this is what I mean. This just costs you bulk time.
When the other one came off too, Mark, it had worn away quite a lot.
So Garth Tander back at the lead. 3.2 seconds the gap now. So the 23-year-old West Australian really showing the factory Holdens a clean pair of heels in the opening laps of this one. 17 laps down. 3.2 seconds the gap. And here's our fifth place man, Glenn Seaton. First of the Fords. Radicic behind him, Bow, so there's a trio of Falcons running fairly close together. This is a much improved performance from the Ford Tickford Racing team.
Seaton's running an interesting little system for you too. He's running an optimizer, or an atomizer I should say, which is something a little piece of gardening gear that one of the team have brought in from home, and it sprays water at his face just to keep it a little bit cool as he goes along. Larkham leaves the pits in the Mitre 10 Ford. So he's done his tyre stop and a lot of time lost while they change that front splitter.
Looks like Paul Radicic is continuing that charge. He's starting to get closer to the back of Seaton's car. So you remember that Radicic started 9th.
Yeah, it looks, looks as though Larkham was testing that out.
Wants to give the front bit of a workout to make sure the boys have attached it properly. Bit of the magic tape on the right-hand side. They put some cable ties there as well to try and hold it onto the bodywork. It's a bit of a band-aid job, a bit of a patch-up job, but as long as it holds it on, for 250 Ks, that's all the boys have got to worry about. Here's Dean Canto, the winner of the opening Konica V8 lights round at Eastern Creek. And he's right up behind Mark Larkham.
19-year-old Sydney Sider monstering at the moment. He's going to get past here too. He's got a busy weekend on his plate at the moment, Canto. His team also look after Grant Kenny's Subaru WRX in the GTP Nations Cup, or in the GTP Series, I should say. Larkham doesn't want to let him through.
Well, these two will be probably fighting for track position once we see the timing monitor trip over. Let's have a look at the Shell Helix replay, a bit of an incident earlier on.
That is
Matthew Coleman, yep, the colour scan Falcon, deputising for the injured Danny Osborne this weekend. And it was at this race, in fact, where Danny Osborne was so badly injured in that crash with Craig Lowndes.
At the moment, Garth Tander continues to lead things here on the streets of Adelaide on lap 19 of 78. The 23-year-old from WA doing very, very well. From Scaife and Lowndes, we can see, of course, that Canto is continuing to hound Mark Larkham. This is much further back in the pack when you consider that Larkham has had that problem with the front splitter. There you have it, folks. Your Shell Helix race score. Tander leading from Scaife, Lowndes, Russell Ingall doing very well at the moment. Glenn Seaton, Paul Radicic, John Bowen, Stephen Richards, then it's Bargwanna, Murphy, Longhurst, Neil Crompton, Stephen Johnson as well, who's clawing his way back and only completed 8 laps during the course of practice and qualifying and getting used to the Adelaide circuit. Trust you're enjoying all the action here from Adelaide. Stay with us here on your home of motorsport.
Down in the Clipsal 500, you're watching Russell Ingall currently in 4th place, trying to hold off the Falcon freight train. He's under pressure from Paul Radicic, who's the big mover. Glenn Seaton just behind him. Much improved effort this weekend from Ford. They've been under a lot of pressure from fans and administration over their performance so far. They need some points and they need some highlights at the Clipsal 500. They're providing just that. Also plenty of highlights in the pits already. Grant Danier.
Yeah, I'm down here with Adam Perry. It's Lyco's team manager. Just spoiler damage, is that all?
Yeah, we basically don't know exactly what the cause was, but the bottom of the under tray collapsed and managed to pull the bar off the front mount. So we've just replaced that. We managed to do it within the compulsory pit stop window. So we've done our tyres as well. So we're just going to press on now, and you know, we'll work out all right, I think. Yeah.
Is everything
just spoke to Mark then, and he's back in the groove.
Does that put you out of the race and hopefully a podium finish?
Absolutely not. We're here. This is going to be a long race. We've got this new tyre, and it's testing a lot of the drivers out there today. And there's also the fatigue factor. So, Mark, I'll be in there, don't you worry.
Good luck to you.
Thanks very much.
Yeah, long way to go for the Mitre 10 team. I think I just noticed when Tony Longhurst made that move on Larko gave him racing room, but just as they came out of the corner, it looked like there was smoke starting to pump from the front of Larkham's car. Now, whether that was as a result of a collision with the Caltex Haviland car or whether the spoiler just happened to fall apart at the same time, I'm not sure, but it seemed to happen about that point in the race.
It's left Larkham in 36th position. A couple of other movers. We talked about Radicic. Started out of grid position 9, has moved to 6th place. He is on a charge. Neil Crompton also on a charge. From 17th, he has moved the FTR Falcon up to 12th. And Greg Murphy from 18th, now up to 10th in the Kmart Commodore. So there are some real shakers and movers here at Adelaide.
In car with Glenn Seaton, car 5, the Be Clear and Simple onboard telemetry. Let's do a lap of Adelaide, all 3.2 kilometres. Jungle, isn't it? And just riding those big blocks of concrete, 1,800 in all, each one weighing 4.5 tons. That's what makes up this Adelaide street circuit. Get it wrong, and you can pay a very heavy price, as drivers have already found out earlier this week. This is the battle for 16th position between Todd Kelly in the 3rd of the Holden Racing Team Commodores, the Young Lions machine, and right behind him the Team Asia online Commodore, John Faulkner.
Two guys who are actually injured at the moment. They don't certainly seem to be driving like they are. Kelly is nursing an injured left hand. He damaged the tendon in his left hand during the course, or the aftermath, if you like, of that crash involving Neil Crompton and Paul Morris at the Grand Prix. And Faulkner has a compressed disc in his back, and has been working with chiropractors right throughout the course of the season to try and get that right. There was even a question mark over whether he would race here at Adelaide, and Adam Macro, the former Formula Ford champion, was on standby and may have taken up the ride in the Asia Online Commodore. John, you'll remember last year was really knocked about quite heavily in the second leg of the Adelaide 500 and had to be extracted from the car. He literally dehydrated.
Yeah, he was just one of many victims who paid the price. Dehydration, there was exhaust fume problems. Oh, look at one of the problems with the Fords. That's Neil Crompton. And this guy's bad luck continues. There is smoke billowing from the back of the second of the factory cars.
Now he's hit something there, Mark. There's damage down the left-hand side of the car, and I think that's a tyre that is rubbing. The back left-hand tyre, I think, is rubbing.
Now, I wonder if he's come into contact with another car or a wall. Not sure, but there's damage. And he's going to do another lap. So let's have a look if we can see what's happened there. It just starts to pump from the left rear wheel. So I'm not quite sure what the drama is there, whether it's rubbing against the bodywork or whether there's a problem inside. It would appear to be the tyre rubbing against the body.
Cannot get over. I know we keep talking about it, but I cannot get over just how bad the luck is for Neil Crompton. You wonder what he has done
to deserve this. Now, he's going to come in apparently this time around. He wasn't sure what the telemetry was saying. That's the word we're getting from the FTR pit, and understandably so, because everything's probably reading right if it's just body damage. So Crompton pressing on, but he will be in the pits this time around.
It does look like the damage is too severe on the car. Very... Now, it'll be interesting to know what the problem is there with that car. It could be a problem within the axle itself. So Crompton's got to try and limp it back to the pits, but there's plenty of smoke pumping out of that car. That's a great disappointment. He's limping it around. Baird and Stephen Johnson moving up in the background. So Crompton was holding a good, strong 12th place just outside of the top 10. He must call into pit lane now. So hopefully he can limp it back to the pits. But he has not had a good weekend, Neil Crompton.
Now here we go. Neil is coming into pit lane this time around. Now, pit reporter Grant Denyer tells us that Neil is going to drive straight into the garage.
Okay,
So,
well, that sounds like it's more than a tyre rubbing problem. That might be something terminal in the rear axle. Barry Sheen.
Yeah, you're right there, Mark. It says Neil was on the radio and he said the DEF's running very, very hot, and what they reckon's happened, it's popped a seal out. It's popped the near side rear left seal out, as far as they can see. As you can see there, they've got a thing up on the jacks, and it's just I'll get in there and have a little bit of a look if I can in a sec, but I just don't want to get in anyone's way. Yeah, it looks like a seal or something, because
Got the fire extinguisher there, Basil.
yeah, I don't think there's anything on fire down there. It's just the fact that it's a precaution thing. It's definitely oil anyway. I can smell it. You know, it's hot oil, so that looks like the end of the day for Crompo. Boy, it stinks. I know that much.
Well, you guys. What a mess. FTR Falcon, one out. Apparently, one to go. Glenn Seaton's running strongly at the front. We hear the Mitre 10 Ford is back into the pits as well. So Mark Larkham, there it is, continuing to have problems. What are we going to hear? This might be some repairs going on. Now, I'm not sure. I think they made a tyre change before. And the rule is you can actually take a tyre off. Now, I'm not sure what's going on here. Larkham's remaining in the car.
looks as though Dick Johnson Racing is standing by. No, they're going back into the garage. They had the gear out a moment ago.
The officials are telling him, "You're going to get this lot cleaned up, boys." Looks like there's some problem at the back of the car as well. Well, this is exactly what Mark Larkham was dreading. He said this race is so important. With all those points up for grabs, you cannot afford to do badly at Adelaide. The 36-year-old, originally from Sydney, now lives up on the Gold Coast, running 5th in the Shell Championship Series. A great start to 2000 for the Mitre 10 Ford driver, but this is really going to hurt him.
One of the first drivers to do a clean pit stop, if you like, not coming in because there's other damage to the car, is Steve Reed. He's in at the moment as well. In car 23, the PPG Optus Commodore. We're watching Paul Radicic, the rat on screen. Here he comes. Radicic is coming into pit lane, so...
Well, we're well inside that pit window, which was 15 laps to 57 laps. Cars have to make 2.
Now this
is compulsory pit stops.
Looks like it'll be for fuel too.
Barry Sheen's on the scene.
Yeah, I am. It doesn't look to me like they're going to do the tyres or anything. No problems. Paul's just wiping his face. It's no clean.
Okay, that's the compulsory fuel stop out of the way. 13 seconds the time.
Yeah, it was all plain sailing. Nothing wrong there.
So
and they've taken his little orange thing off the back there, so...
Radicic, one of the first of the lead cars to come in for the first of his compulsory pit stops. That was for fuel. And you might have noticed they didn't change tyres. That's under the regulations. You are not allowed to change tyres during the fuel stop, and you're not allowed to refuel during the tyre stop. So he's got one half of that equation out. I believe they've tipped some fuel into Larkham's car, but they're playing around with tyres here. So major dramas for the Mitre 10 Ford team. And Larkham, after a great start to season 2000, is in real trouble on the streets of Adelaide. They've got some dramas under the rear of the car, so he may be there for a long time yet.
If you've just joined us, Garth Tander leads the way, and he's done so from pole position. He's been the model of consistency that we've seen so far this season from him. He leads from Mark Scape and Craig Lowndes. Oh, hang on, we've got problems here. Lowndes. No, this is Lowndes coming into pit lane.
This should be the first of his compulsory stops. Yeah, fuel going in. So looks like everything running to schedule at the moment. No fuss, no bother. Keep an eye on the stopwatch for you. About 13 seconds for Paul Radicic. See how that rates against the factory Holden team. Boy, he's sitting there for a while.
Yeah.
Look at a delay here with car 1. I would have expected that would have been out in a hurry. What is going on here?
The boys are holding him. You can see team manager Jeff Breck down there.
Well, that was a long stop.
Now, I'm wondering if they had trouble changing the drink bottle or something like that. They're at the back area of the car, in behind Lowndes. Wonder what it was. It took an awful long time.
Hopefully we'll get word from the pits as to what that delay was with car 1, but that's very expensive because under the regulations this year, you cannot pit under a safety car period or yellow flag period. Oh, Paul Romano. Wow. He's stuck it in big time. That's coming on the straight. Yeah, it's coming on the pit straight. We saw Stephen Richards come to grief on the other side of the track at about that point. Now Paul Romano's even things up with a big taste of the concrete on the exit to that turn. Now I wonder if that's going to bring out a safety car.
If it does, it'll be pit stop central. Well, only if they come in, of course, before the safety car. You can't pit under the safety car.
Paul Romano out of the car. Thankfully, he's okay. And here comes John Bowe. We've got a safety car on the track now.
There's a few of them that have come in like Bowe here, for example. Now, I wonder if he's judged that prior to.
Seaton has too. Now, I don't know whether they've managed to sneak in before the safety car sign was held up. There's very strict regulations on this. You're not allowed to pit. We'll sort all this out for you in a moment. Here's John Bowe, the stop clock going on the Caterpillar Ford. He's back into the race. Now, you have to have made a stop, actually stopped in your pit bay before the safety car sign was held out. So this is going to be interesting by the time they sort this lot out.
Yep, Stephen Richards as well came in. So that's interesting. Did all of them get in prior to the safety car coming out on the circuit? Paul Morris, another one to take advantage of that.
Well, under the safety car conditions, when they show the SC sign, you can just see it have a shot there at the last turn. If you happen to be in pit lane, you have to do a drive-through, stay out on the track. So it could be very interesting by the time they clear up Paul Romano's car.
Something we'll keep an eye on, folks. Garth Tander leading from Mark Scape. Russell Ingall now up to third after Lowndes pitted. Jason Barguana, Longhurst, Murphy, Radicic and Stephen Johnson. A great performance now inside the top 8. Then it's Baird, McDougall in the Pepsi Racing Commodore. Lowndes falls back to 11th after that pit stop. Faulkner, Kelly, Seaton, Bowe and Stephen Richards. Those three have pitted as well. And then it's Mazira, Ashby, McLean, McConville, Donaher and Smurden. Stay with us here on the streets of Adelaide.
Well, this is what makes the Clipsal 500 such a fascinating race. Compulsory pit stops, yes, but also clear regulations about how those pit stops are taken. And there's a little bit of conjecture about the situation with Mark Scape. Either way, he has problems and big ones.
Yeah, we saw the car come in. The Craig Lowndes was okay, but a very despondent Mark Scape sitting there. There's some problem with the engine. We saw the mechanics fiddling around with the engine management system. The engine's been running very roughly. They've switched it on and off a couple of times. There's one of the boys inside working on the car's engine computer, engine management system. Barry Sheen's on the spot. Across to Barry in a few moments' time, but Mark Scape has been there in a long time. He's gone a number of laps down.
Scape has been talking quite closely with Chief Engineer Robbie Starr, so some sort of major dilemma. We'll try and go back down to Barry Sheen. Barry?
Yeah, I was just talking to Mark. He said he's got a terrible misfire. You know, the thing just won't pull the revs or anything. They changed the little sort of black box and they changed another box as well, but when it went out then it was still misfiring. You know, you were worried about what was going on with Craig's thing. When he picked it right, he couldn't get any water out of his drink bottle or whatever he's got in his drink bottle, so they put 2 new bottles in there. Very important, that.
Yeah, absolutely. Under these conditions, well, a couple of cracks starting to appear. Pressure from Garth Tander, Holden Racing Team, having a few dramas very early in the Adelaide 500. And there's just taking advantage of the time to move those tyres back.
Just a plug for the website. This is a live chat room on that address, www.10.com.au/RPM. And that is the time, 5:30 p.m. That's Eastern time, of course. For Perth viewers, it's 3:30 p.m. And today it'll be myself and Neil Crompton answering questions and whatever else. And tomorrow, of course, we have Mark Scaife and Greg Rust.
Well, hasn't this safety car situation changed the complexion of the race? Tander leads from England, Bargwana. We've seen a few pit stops. Grant?
Yeah, John Bowe, unfortunately, has had a strange incident. He came in for a pit stop, went back out, and only a matter of 2 laps later, he came back in complaining of a strange tyre. He said it was just a bad tyre. He said it wasn't flat, it just felt funny. So they came back in, replaced it very quickly, and continued on with the race. Now, another retirement is unfortunately local man Mark Poole. Mark is retired. He said he has extraordinary back pain that he just can't go on. He fell off his motorbike a couple of days ago in training. He just says the pain is just too unbearable. So it makes me think, wonder how John Faulkner's going.
Exactly right. Keep in mind also that each car only has 16 tyres that they can use for the course of the weekend. And it looks as though Mark Scaife's car, we can see below our commentary box, there it is. Scaife has come back in. So the woes for Mark Scaife continue. Third last season, has not won an endurance race or a championship since he joined the Holden Racing Team, and this year that was very high on the to-do list. You can see by the look of his face there.
Well, he would be painfully aware. Remember what happened last year when he didn't have a good result here. That cost him the championship. Really, he came on so strong, but those 300 points that his teammate took by winning both races really did damage his championship assault.
Mark, I think he's undoing the belts. Yep. Indeed he is.
So lights are out on the Holden Racing Team Commodore. That is a major surprise. You don't often see that with the red cars. But Mark Scaife is out of action. Barry Sheen there. Have a chat with him in a few moments' time. But that's a crushing blow for the Holden factory team. Craig Lowndes, the only remaining car there now, and of course Todd Kelly in the Young Lions car. So there's 2 more out there. Lights are off on the safety car, so we'll return to full green flag racing conditions this time around.
So Garth Tander leading his way around the streets of Adelaide and yet to pit. Tander has yet to do a fuel or a tyre stop. We're getting ready to go racing once again. Safety car peels off into pit lane, down into Mistral Corner for Garth Tander, and he brings the field onto the front straight at Adelaide. We are away and racing again. There's the green light. That's all systems go.
Russell Ingall in second position. Jason Bargwana third. The field sort themselves out as we return to full green flag wavy conditions. So drama upon drama. We're only 34 laps into this 78-lap contest. Just shows you how tough it is on the streets of Adelaide. Big field filing through. Here's your man in second place, Russell Ingall, still to make the first of his compulsory pit stops.
Tander is yet to pit as well, Mark. The man who is well placed out of all that, you'd have to say, would be Craig Lowndes, who has completed at least 1 stop at this stage. Ingall works his way down the Adelaide Straight with lights ablaze, trying to make his way through some of the lap traffic. Baz?
Yeah, I'm with Mark. What happened, Mark?
This place is like my nemesis place, isn't it? What have I done? Look, it's got an engine drama. It's got a really bad misfire. We changed a couple of electrical things. That didn't fix it, so it's obviously a bit more serious than that. It happened on the lap of the safety car, which, can you believe? I mean, I drove past the safety car board and I said to the boys, developed a misfire, and I had to come in, obviously.
Never mind. It can only get better.
Well, I run a consistency, Baz. I mean, that's the drama. I mean, the car's been so good, we've been going okay, so these things happen. I mean, we'll press on, see what happens. Laz did it from the back yesterday. We'll give it a run, eh?
What a sensation. Mark Scaife dropping out. Now Russell Ingall, on his first lap back under green, has spun off. You can see he's hit those tyres that his teammate Larry Perkins hit earlier in the race. Ingall is out of the car. Safety car is back on the circuit.
Goodness me.
Now, I don't know whether Russell spun it or whether he's been tapped. Let's have a look on the Shell Helix replay.
Oh, up onto two wheels and bang into the tyre wall.
He's done that all by himself. Crunch. So, the two Castrol Commodores going out through driver error. Well, drama upon drama. We're trying to keep up with this. Russell Ingall, he will be a shattered man. That car was going very quickly in qualifying.
Now, we've seen again a flurry of cars coming in for what appears to be pit stops, but again, did they come in prior to seeing the safety car board?
Well, the officials have got a nightmare on their hands. They've got to determine whether those cars, all those cars came in and pitted before the safety car sign was shown, and I would hate to be adjudicating that. Goodness me.
We'll take a look at the Shell Helix replay for you of what happened with Russell Ingall there. We saw him getting up on two wheels before, all on his own as he came through speed stick turn. This is a look at it. Look at this. Clouts the wall and then bang.
Gee, it doesn't happen quickly. It all looks very controlled when these cars are on the racing line, but once they get away from you, 1,350 kilograms of Aussie V8 just chomps into the wall. Russell Ingall, he's okay and out of the car, but he will be very disappointed. He said at the opening of this race he was going for broke. He had a good opportunity to claw back those points, particularly when one of the Holden Racing Team cars in trouble early on. But that's two Castrol Commodores out of the race with only 35 laps completed.
Keep in mind that Russell has had a terrible start to the championship. He's finished twice second in the championship, and that has really dinted, no doubt, his 2,000 hopes. Garth Tander leads from Bargwana with the safety car on the circuit. The two Valvoline Cummins Commodores up in front of things from Longhurst, Radisich, Richards and Lowndes. Todd Kelly doing well in the Holden Young Lions entries. Thomas Mazira up there as well. Cameron McLean has moved his way up into 9th place. But don't forget, a lot of them are still yet to pit. There's McConville, Bow, Murphy up to 13th. He's been in as well. Stephen Johnson, Russell Ingall and Glenn Seaton in 16th position at the moment. Then it's Craig Baird, Dougal McDougall in the Pepsi Racing Commodore, John Faulkner, Wayne Wakefield, Rodney Forbes, Dean Canto, Matthew Coleman, Paul Morris. Taking a look at all of them for you so you can follow your favourite driver, Peter Dillman in 25th. Brad Jones, recovering after a disastrous start, is now 26th place.
Oh, okay.
Steve Reed, Alan Heath, Mark Scaife is out of this one. And Larkham, Tratt, Romano, Crompton out as well. Real drama's unfolding here on the streets of Adelaide.
It's hard to know where to start. It's been a war of attrition on the streets of Adelaide. Anthony Tratt into the tyres. He was the first of many, as it turned out. Overcooked it on one of the many great dices we've had. Cameron McLean there spinning, and how they avoided him is quite remarkable. Now, Larry Perkins, a most amazing single-handed off. Those tyres there have been a trap for a couple of cars. In fact, they were both from the one team. Jones spins, Brad Jones. And again, the traffic does extremely well to miss him. He puts it in reverse just in time here as some of the wider runners come through. Look at that. Almost collected, but did very well, Brad, to come out of it. He's back on track. Here's Paul Morris having a tough bout with Paul Wheel. So the two Pauls coming together. A little bit of panel damage. Now we see Mark Larkham into the pits. This was a real problem. The under tray had come off, and the whole front spoiler had to be basically stuck back on. Neil Crompton out of the event. He had rear axle problems. The differential was playing up. Now, Paul Romano. This is a serious crash. Paul okay, but not so the race. And there's the safety car out for the first of a number of times. Russell Ingall, the latest casualty, and once again, self-destructing. The Castrol Commodore team, the Castrol Perkins team, very unhappy. But they have another race tomorrow.
Well, what an amazing race here at Adelaide, and we are at roughly half race distance.
I'm just staggered. I mean, I just can't believe what's going on out there. The rash of pit stops and the crashes. Russell Ingall.
Not the way he wanted to go back into pit lane.
Well, we don't know. I mean, when he gets back to the pits, he may have had a brake failure or some sort of mechanical failure, but it looks like an identical situation to his teammate Larry Perkins.
Looking ahead of the 10th. Phillip Island, the World Superbike Championship at Phillip Island, round 2, April 22 and 23, and Network 10 will be televising that. great series, and the 4th round of this series goes to Eastern Creek on April 30. Not as many points on offer, 3 sprint rounds there. This is a different situation, and a shocker for the Castrol Perkins team. However, there are twice as many points on offer for victory tomorrow's race, so if they can have their cars repaired in time, they still have a chance to take some points. As we ride with Glenn Seaton, Grant Denyer is down in pit lane.
Yeah, I'm with Gary Rogers, the team principal of Tander's team. Now, you've got some concerns about the safety car. What's that?
Well, as I pointed out before, we had a bad experience last year when Garth obviously would have won the first race due to an oversight on behalf of the officials, and I'm just making sure that we don't have a repeat of that this year. I mean, clearly the cars that stopped for their pit stop just now under the safety car cannot do so, and it's written in the regulations here. Very clearly it states there, no competitor is permitted to commence a compulsory pit stop while the safety car board is displayed.
Do you believe some teams have done that?
Oh, absolutely they did. I mean, we're standing here and we saw the safety car board out, and there was at least 8 or 10 cars came into the pits here.
So what are you going to do?
Well, I'd like to think that I'll have to do nothing. I'd like to think that the officials of the meeting are sensible enough and have control of the situation to do what's necessary to bring it back to an equal field for us.
Thanks, Gary.
Thank you.
Seems as though every year we're doing some investigative journalism, and the subject is Gary Rogers.
And the officials. I mean, I just saw when those cars were in there, how could you possibly adjudicate on whether they were in there before the safety car board was out, who was in, who was out? I mean, what a nightmare. Imagine trying to decide on that situation.
You can have that job.
Oh boy, they really make some rods for the backs, don't they? Complicated rules. I don't know why they did this. I mean, it was the standard racing procedure in an enduro is you can pit under a safety car period. That makes it exciting. It allows the teams to use tactics. But by coming up with a rule like that, it's going to make it so difficult. I mean, how could you possibly stand in front of Gary Rogers and say, well, no, this car was in and this one was out? I mean, they're going to have a lot of work to do. Probably be scratching their heads a bit too after this one.
Johnny Bow in the Caterpillar Ford. At the moment sits 12th on the road. As we continue to ride behind the safety car. Scaife is, of course, out, so too Neil Crompton.
The lights are off on the safety car, so he might be about to return to racing. There's who's out in the top left of your screen. Larry Perkins, Paul Wheel, both early casualties. Steve Ellery, Mark Bull, Neil Crompton, Paul Romano, a big crash in the car. Although Perkins may rejoin the pits, the latest may rejoin the race, it's the latest we hear from the pits. So hopefully one of the Castrol cars will return to battle. Safety car pulls in. And we return to the status quo. Garth Tander ahead of Jason Bargwanna, Tony Longhurst, Paul Radisich, Stephen Richards, Craig Lowndes, Todd Kelly, Thomas Mazera, Trevor Ashby in there too. Cameron McLean rounding out the top 10. John Bow back there in 12th position in the Caterpillar Ford. But I tell you, the man who is pretty handily placed at the moment is Glenn Seaton. We're not sure if our information's right, but our spotters tell us that Seaton has made both of his compulsory pit stops, whereas a lot of the cars in front of him haven't. So the number 5 FTR Falcon could be right in the thick of things pretty soon.
Paul Morris carving his way through the field. As the field now get back into action after the safety car's departure. Huge field of V8s here on the streets of Adelaide, and the crowd are absolutely loving it. Something like an increase of 60% on the amount of corporate facilities they had here last year. So some great support for this race, and they've got some great racing to watch as well.
There's hot work. John Bow with the lights on in the Caterpillar Falcon. We go down the end of Brabham Straight. Car 18, Paul Radisich. Hugely disappointed after that electronic gremlin in the car when he went out for his hot lap yesterday. Had to start from back 9th on the grid, but now finds himself up in 4th, and he's made the first of his 2 compulsory pit stops.
Stephen Richards, his teammate, Stephen Johnson, I should say, his teammate, bear in mind, only had a minimal amount of time in his car in the lead up to this race, around about 8 laps, has never been to the streets of Adelaide before. But Radisich at the moment is very well placed in car 18. Now Tander, we're getting word through from the pits, has been told to come in. There are the Valvoline Cummins Commodores, 1 and 2 on the road at the moment. Tander leading from Bargwanna, and Tander has been told to come into the pits this time around.
Well, both those Valvoline Cummins cars are yet to make the first of their compulsory pit stops. And keep in mind, the window to make those compulsory stops is between lap 15 and lap 57. We're on lap 41 now. So only about 17, 16 laps remaining for any of those teams out there.
Looks like Greg Murphy in for fuel.
To make 2 compulsory pit stops, it's going to happen pretty fast for these two. The Valvoline Cummins cars, they haven't made 1 yet, so they're going to have to squash 2 stops in the space of 16 laps. All the while, Glenn Seaton's sitting back there in the pack. He's made his 2 compulsory stops. Ford could be looking pretty strong toward the end of the day if he keeps going.
You can't speak highly enough of Garth Tander's performance. The 23-year-old really has been a model of consistency so far this season. Larry Perkins heading back out, and to the delight of the crowd too.
Oh, the battered, bruised and beaten Castrol VT. Larry Perkins, the crowd sits up a roar. Here's our race leader, Garth Tander. As they said from the pits, he was going to come in pretty soon, and here he is. Trickling down pit lane, 60km/h speed limit here for safety reasons. Barry's on the spot.
Yeah, it's looking, it doesn't even look hot, Garth. It's just looking for these guys just to get to signals. Yeah, it's very, very cool, calm and collected. You see these guys just really very, very settled. Seems to take forever to get the fuel in. He's going, come on, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. Incidentally, when Larry went out, he backed out, he caught the back end of his car over the Armco barrier, and it's tore a big lump out of the back end of the sort of diffuser thing. So I don't know whether that's going to cause any problems.
Yeah, he's got plenty of problems on his plate today. Larry Perkins, 50-year-old veteran, doing very well in the championship. Hopefully he can score a few points here, but he's very, very, very many laps down.
There's the piece hanging off that Barry was referring to. Castrol Commodore
came into this round 14th in the championship, 70 points.
Bear in mind also too, Barry was talking about Garth Tander looking like he didn't even have a drop of sweat on him during the course of that pit stop. Garth has been spending something in the vicinity of around about 8 to 9 hours per week with a fitness trainer, and of course a lot of cycling and running work that Garth is doing in order to keep his fitness at the top level. So that's roughly 1 day out of your week totally on fitness. Baz?
Yeah, I just so I can hardly hear what's going on down here.
Try and come back to Barry Sheen there.
Barry's very busy down in the pit lane there. He can't hear himself speak. Here's the Wins Commodore, Rodney Forbes. Looks like it's compulsory tyre change. No fuel going into the car, so this looks like a scheduled stop.
They've got a very special cooling system in this car for Rodney as well, in order to keep him cool during the course of the race.
Got the team replenishing the ice in there.
Yep.
So a lot of drivers using auxiliary cooling aids to try and cope with the tremendous heat. Oh, very close in pit lane between the Greenfield Mowers car of Cameron McLean
and Trevor Ashby.
Trevor Ashby came right up behind him. So hectic situation. Let's see if Baz can hear us now.
Yeah, I can hear you now. Jeff Gregg, incidentally, was walking up and down here. He was saying the same thing as Gary Rogers. I mean, there's a hell of a lot of people did pit under the safety car thing, and it's, you know, it really is. I don't know how they're going to police it, because, you know, I can understand Gary Rogers' concern after the muck-up there was last year, and I really can't see how they can police it properly, really. So I think there's going to be a lot of arguments at the end of this.
Oh, I think so, Baz.
The safety car came out on lap 30 and then again on lap 35. So if we go through them for you, Seaton pitted on lap 30 for tyres and 35 for fuel. That's based on the information we're being told. Stephen Johnson, another one to come in on lap 35. So lots of them. John Faulkner as well.
Dougal McDougall in the Pepsi Yellow Quench car sneaks up the inside of Chris Smurden, giving him racing room. Here comes Jason Bargwanna, waiting for Bargwanna to make the first of his compulsory stops. Now they got Tander out of the way. So Bargwanna, currently 17th in the championship, has not been a good start for the 27-year-old, originally from Como in New South Wales.
Now bases himself, of course, out of Melbourne, and very fit, has lost a lot of weight in the lead up to this race. Jason Bargwanna, working with his girlfriend Deb, who is an aerobics instructor. Jason Bargwanna leading from the Rat, Richards, Lowndes, Kelly, Bow,
Seaton, well placed, has had 2 pit stops from what we can gather. Baird, Tander, Longhurst and Murphy. It's all happening here at Adelaide. Stay with us on your home of motorsport.
You're watching the Clipsal 500 and you're watching the former race leader Jason Bargwanna in the pits for Gary Rogers Motorsport. That means Stephen Richards and Paul Radisich are ahead of Craig Lowndes out on the track. Then John Bowe, Glenn Seaton, Stephen Johnson, Craig Baird and Garth Tander, who just a short time ago made his compulsory pit stop in 8th place. He was the early race leader. Bargwanna is away. Quite a good stop for him.
Word from the pits is also that Larry Perkins came in for a brief splash and dash, all of 3 seconds. Now we're going to welcome someone to the microphone here now that we were, I guess, would be hoping to welcome under better circumstances. Scapey, not your day.
Well, Greg, I mean, this is like our nemesis, this place at the moment. Obviously, we've had a little engine drama. We're really not sure what's wrong with it yet. So I've lost touch with the race a little bit, but obviously it's pretty exciting now after the pace car and all the boys are into it.
Certainly are into it. Watching it at the moment, Stephen Richards playing defensive. Gets around McDougall at the end of the Brabham straight, but hot on his heels is Radisich and Lowndes.
Must hurt, Scapey, when you know how many points are on offer. This one meant a lot to you, didn't it?
Well, it basically cost me the championship last year, Mark. So, I mean, the only thing I can do now is have a positive attitude about it, have a major go. Craig come from the back last year, and we'll give it our best shot and see what happens tomorrow.
Well, double points tomorrow, of course, 160. So if you get a good result, that'll still keep you bubbling right up there.
That's exactly right. The thing that was interesting then was Bargwanna being in the pits. There was a 24-second stop. That means that he would have started the race with no fuel in the car or very low load. So after the number of laps we got now is 50 laps, he probably started with about 100 litres in the tank, so that wasn't full. So that's why Tander went so well early. We didn't have that. We would have had a much shorter fuel stop than that.
On board, be clear and simple. Talk us around the Adelaide track, Scapey. You know it well enough.
Well, this is obviously Radisich's car, and when you come out of here, this next little right-hander is really slippery. It's a very difficult corner to get a good run. You can see Paul run up on the curb on the outside there. On the normal line, there's more grip than out wide where Paul was, and as the tyres start to go away, you really can't hold the car in. This is a really dangerous little corner here now, back from 6th gear to 3rd gear, through the fast right, and that's where Russell Ingall clipped those tyres, and let me tell you, that's really easy to do. As you come down there now, you just get to 5th gear, back to 2nd gear for the slowest corner on the track. It's a bit of a pain, this corner, because you really can't do much about it. And Paul Radisich is obviously pressing on behind this lap car. Probably hasn't taken too much of a risk because he's about to come into the pits for his next compulsory pit stop.
Yeah, it should be any lap now, and this may well be it. Yeah, here he comes, car 18, Shell Helix Ford, currently 2nd on the track, coming in for his 2nd compulsory stop.
Lowndes too. So Craig's coming in. This is going to be a bit of pit stop pandemonium here for you. So both of them being warned to take it nice and slow and stick to the pit lane speed limit. This is going to be a tyre stop for Radisich. Just 6 people allowed to work on the car during the course of the stop.
There's going to be a bit of conjecture after this race, Mark. There was a lot of complaints that people were pitting when the safety car sign was out. It's going to be very hard to adjudicate on, don't you think?
Well, it is pretty tough. That's a great stop our guys. Look at that. That's fantastic. We've come in behind them and gone out in front of them. That's the way to go. You'd rather pass them like that than pass them on the track, I can give you the tip.
But under these, when you weren't allowed to pit under safety car conditions, we had Gary Rogers down there saying that he saw a number of cars pitting with the SC sign out. What are they going to do?
Yeah, look, that's a drama. Obviously, Garth Tander's in the pits there now for his compulsory tyre stop. Look, I don't really know, Mark. What they're going to do is the judge of fact will be the man holding the safety car board on the way into the pits, and that will be the adjudicator of this situation.
From a layman's point of view, why simply didn't they just shut the entry to pit lane, have someone standing there with some sort of board or whatever and prevent them from coming into pit lane?
Well, that's probably pretty right, Greg, but the drama is that when you're already committed to the pit lane, you don't need to have a queue of cars there.
So you wouldn't like to be the bloke doing that job?
Well, I wouldn't like to hold the lollipop sign. I can give you the tip.
So Tander comes back out after his 2nd compulsory stop, so he can run through to the end now. Keep in mind the window for these 2 compulsory stops is between laps 15 and 57. Our race leader has just completed 49. So time running out. Here's John Bowe on the Caterpillar Falcon.
Stephen Richards in
also for fuel.
So Glenn Seaton looking pretty good at the moment. He's now gone through to the lead of the race. He's made 2 compulsory pit stops, so he can effectively run right to the end, provided he has no mechanical dramas. So the FTR Falcon looking strong at this stage of the race. 50 laps completed of 78. John Bowe rejoins the battle. So the order at the moment: Seaton, Johnson, Lowndes, Radisich, Bargwanna, Kelly. It's all going to change when we get these pit stops out of the way.
Just to update you, Craig Lowndes has made both stops. So too Glenn Seaton. Tony Longhurst has completed both his stops. So has Paul Radisich. Lap 51 of 78. We continue to watch Glenn Seaton's progress. He is your leader in the Clipsal 500, race 1. The first of 2 250k races here this weekend.
Just look at that top 5, Rusty. Glenn Seaton, Stephen Johnson, Stephen Richards, Craig Lowndes, Paul Radisich. They've all made their compulsory stops except for Stephen Johnson. He's got to make another one. He's running in second at the moment, so effectively the order on the road, allowing for Steve's pit stop, is Seaton, Richards, Lowndes and Radisich.
Mark, I guess one point of interest for a lot of people, a new Bridgestone control tyre this weekend, and everyone's first real crack at it in an endurance trim. What's your thoughts on it?
Well, at the moment, I think you've got to say, Greg, that it's very consistent. I mean, we were able to, at the start of the race, basically do every lap for the first 20 laps within sort of half a second. So I was quite surprised as to the consistency. As you can see there, Steve Johnson in. So Steve was second, so this will put him back a little bit.
Yep, second compulsory stop for the Shell 4 driver. Had a terrible run in practice. Had a engine misfire in the Shell 1740. Only did 6 laps, and he's never competed here before, so it was a tough baptism for Junior. He's getting the hang of it now. Here's Bargwanna, and he's made his second stop.
So tyres going on the Bargwanna car. The earlier stop was, of course, for fuel and plenty of it.
Second compulsory stop for Bargwanna to get new tyres put on. Let's go down to Grant Denyer.
I'm down here in Mark Poole's pit now. The local pulled out not that long ago, complaining of really severe back pain. He got out of the car, went straight to his chiropractor, and now Mark's back in the car. What did you do to him?
Well, what we did, Mark was experiencing a whole lot of pain in the car, a lot of compression from the seat belts and also the heat today. But what we did, we got him out, we got him adjusted, we got him back on the track, and we're looking to have him there at the finish of the race.
Is he still complaining of pain, or is it all gone?
No, he's feeling great. I just talked to him a little while ago. He's feeling really comfortable. I said we'll be able to get him through the race, and he's really happy, and he's going to be there.
Good stuff.
Thanks very much.
Mark, that's an interesting point, because I think more than ever here this weekend there's an increasing presence of fitness gurus and physios and chiropractors, more than I've ever seen before.
Oh, no doubt, this is the toughest race in Australia by a mile. I mean, throughout my career, I've had a couple of double stints at Bathurst, which would be 3 hours. A 2-hour race around here is tougher than that, and it's more about it's the style of circuit. It's a very bumpy, unforgiving street circuit with no gaps. There's no brakes, so you can't actually move your hands on the wheel. You can't move your feet around. It's incredibly hot because the airflow, there's hardly any airflow in the car, and it's 30 degrees hotter in the car than it is the ambient conditions. So it's about 60 degrees in the car there today. It's at the end of the race, there'll be some very ordinary looking drivers.
Mark Poole in the John Deere Commodore. Here's the Aussie Male Falcon. Well, Brad Jones has really been in the wars all day, trying to turn around very early on. Managed to miss most of the traffic, but damage to the front of the car. Grant Denyer's on the spot.
I'm down here with Morris's pit. He's just about to come in now. They say the tyres are good, the brakes are good, and the whole team, in fact, says we're excited.
Big Kev's always excited.
John.
Tyre change for the Aussie Male Falcon, so Brad Jones rejoins as well. That's the second of his compulsory stops. So at the moment, Glenn Seaton's still sitting ahead of Stephen Richards in second. Some 16 seconds in front of the Kmart Commodore. Let's have a look at the Shell Helix replay. Bit of an incident earlier on. Dougal McDougall. Oh! Now, that's the third Perkins Commodore to get that corner wrong.
Yeah.
Might rename it Castrol Corner, Scapey.
It is a bit like Castrol Corner. It's a really easy place to make a mistake. It's a tough deal.
Craig Lowndes has just taken second position from Stephen Richards, so we've got a battle for the lead that's going to go down over these final laps. 16 seconds the gap between Seaton and Lowndes on the road. And we've got to see now if Lowndes can make an impression on that.
So we've got 25 laps basically and 16 seconds to gain. So sort of 3/4 of a second a lap is what our man needs, Mark. And obviously Craig, he'll be trying real hard now, because this is now the first time in the race where you probably genuinely have to sprint. I mean, like any endurance race, you've got to be in the race, in the hunt, with the sort of 20-lap thing now to the end. You know, as you can see with Glenn, he'll be pressing on also. Obviously, he'll know every lap what the gap is.
Well, Lowndes has really dropped Richards off his tail. It's a 4-second gap it was out to there, but now it's very close. So the battle for second really hotting up, but still 16 seconds between Lowndes and Seaton. There's Rodney Forbes in the Wins Commodore coming in for another stop. We have a battle that's going to go right to the end now. 54 laps completed of 78. 16.7 seconds the gap between Glenn Seaton in the FTR Falcon, Craig Lowndes in second, Stephen Richards right behind the HRT Commodore. So the battle for the top three looks like a beauty.
Mark, a lot of teams this year have introduced a lot of different cooling systems and air, I guess, purifying systems to try and keep them cool in the heat of competition like this. What's your thoughts on it, and what sort of things did HRT do?
We see Neil Crompton pulling his car away there at the moment, but yeah, look, we've done a lot, Greg. I mean, we've tried very hard to make the driver's compartment as cool as it can be, but the reality is that when the exhaust runs under your seat, you're in a bit of trouble. Barry Sheen's in pit lane there.
Yeah, I'm just Neil Crompton's just going out again, and they've fixed the seal on the diff and that, and hopefully one of the diff pumps had packed up. Apparently, that's why it got so hot. But there's a few happy-looking faces in the FTR racing camp at the moment, which is nice. Makes a nice change.
I bet there are. Their man's leading the race. Car 5, teammate to this car, Glenn Seaton. But I'll tell you what, Craig Lowndes has taken a second out of Seaton that last time around. The gap is now under 16 seconds. We'll be watching that timing monitor as these final laps unfold. We're in car, be clear and simple camera with John Bowe.
Craig's just done the fastest lap of his race so far. He's done a 27.41, which is 4/10 faster than he went right up the early part of the race. About a second a lap faster than Glenn.
I'll tell you what, Mark, you were saying before about Lowndes, he needs about 7/10 of a second per lap to close the gap. He's already done it on the split, so he's taking a big chunk out of that lead Falcon. 15 seconds the gap now, so
1.7 seconds in 2 laps.
Yeah.
It's a fair drink, isn't it?
It certainly is. So Lowndes on the charge. It's going to be a very exciting finish to race 1 of the Clipsal 500 in Adelaide. There's John Bowe in the Caterpillar Falcon, currently 6th on the road. And that's the battle, in fact, for 6th and 7th between John Bowe and Greg Murphy, second of the Kmart Commodores. And there's the, I guess, the My Car Young Lions machine.
Just put Todd Kelly a little bit further back, and it's moved Bowe up to 5th place and Greg Murphy up to 6th. If you just joined us, it's Seaton from Lowndes, Stephen Richards in 3rd place in the Kmart Commodore from Paul Radisich. Then it's John Bowe and Greg Murphy. They are your top 6 in race 1 of the Clipsal 500. The battle you're watching there is Murphy.
Oh.
Yeah, what happened there? Looks as though it was something coming from the back of the car, and that is not looking good for the Kmart Commodore.
It's real smoky out of the left bank. You can see it's got 2 exhaust pipes there, and it's real smoky out of the left. And I'm not sure whether something's rubbing or it's exhaust smoke, but it's not. It doesn't look the best, Greg, does it?
Looks like exhaust smoke. Keep an eye on that one. We're on board with Greg Murphy. And you can see that hose coming out of the side of Murphy's helmet. Cold air system, or a fresh air system. Used very popular in the United States, particularly in NASCAR racing. And the Kmart Commodores both using that system this weekend. Just one of the number of driver aids to try and cope with the heat and the exhaust fumes. 14 seconds now. The gap between Lowndes and Seaton. He is on a charge. We could be heading for a very exciting finish.
Work through from the pits. Here's that smoke we're seeing coming from the back of Murphy's Kmart Castrol Commodore is just oil from the overflow. So hopefully that won't cause him too much trouble as we work towards the finish of this one.
The catch can for the oil is in the boot. So basically anything that does overflow out of there will run down the left-hand side and onto the exhaust. So that's probably a reasonable explanation.
Hasn't harmed Murphy's progress because he's right on the back of John Bowe at the moment. Lap 50. 57 of 78, race 1 of the two 250k races that make up the Clipsal 500 around the streets of Adelaide. Glenn Seaton leading, and Art the Ford Ticklet Racing Team happy about that. Craig Lowndes in second place and chipping away. He is closing the gap now down to 14 seconds from Stephen Richards, Radisich, Mount, Murphy, Johnson and Faulkner. They are your top 8. Pit window will close after this lap. Todd Kelly, Garth Tander, Longhurst and Bargwanna. Hope you're enjoying all your action here from Adelaide, right here on your home of motorsport.
Here we go. Welcome back to the Clipsal 500 in Adelaide, where Craig Lowndes is hotly pursuing. Oh, this is Brad Jones!
That's a big rollover. Speed stick turn on the exit of Adelaide Straight, heading for Brabham Straight. Goodness me.
Hasn't that corner claimed some cars today?
Well, obviously, Brad was pretty committed to the corner, and it was on the slide before it got to the tyres, and all it did with the tyres was turn it over and tripped it over. So
the interesting point now is this maybe, or looks definitely like it'll bring out the safety car, and that'll bunch things nice and close at the front.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, Glenn will be bluing because the gap that he did have in 15 seconds. That's the blue-green look that you get. That's not the nicest one.
That's the on-board camera.
Now there's Brad K, which is actually, it did look like the compartment of the car, like the driver's compartment of the car, did hold up to that very well. I mean, when you looked at it turned over, it like it had hardly broken the screen. So
pretty shattering moment for Brad Jones. He's having a tough season.
Doesn't that picture tell the story? Let's have a closer look at it again.
Oh, goodness me. It's incredible, isn't it, Scafey, when you see these things, they look all very smooth and controllable. Once they get out of control, don't they do some damage?
Well, I mean, when they're 1,350 kilos, you can see it on the slides. Yep. It's sliding already. He's committed himself. I mean, he's way too quick for that. So when he's already going to have a fair slide, the tyres are obviously there, but the curb is also the thing there that does trip the car. So it's not very nice.
Poor old Brad Jones. Hasn't this been a rough introduction to the V8 Supercar ranks for him in terms of a full championship assault? And this is only round 3.
Yep, he was a rookie on the track this year too, one of a number of rookies. Never competed on the streets of Adelaide, but there he is. Good to see Bradley walking and talking. He's okay. A testament to the strength of the modern V8 Supercar, but he will be a shattered man. Really struggled to come to terms with the Falcon in the opening rounds of the championship. They did a lot of data to use. They're really starting with a clean slate, and it's been a tough introduction. Well, that makes it even tougher. And the car sitting on its lid.
But as you said, Mark, when they're 1,350 kilos and they're full of fuel, you can see the car here bang on the slide. Then hit that really hard. And as you said, when they're out of shape, they take a lot of gathering up. They've got a lot of momentum, and they're not like a little Formula 4. You can't catch them and bring them back into line very quickly. So once they're actually out of step and you're too committed, it takes a long time to gather the control back, or in that case, just even for the thing to stop. I mean, that would have happened in slow-mo for Brad. Brad would have thought that was a 30-second accident because it would have gone on for so long.
Yeah. Up until that point, Lowndes really had been eating right into the lead that Glenn Seaton had. It was down to 12 seconds now with the safety car out and things bunched up nice and tightly. We are set for an exciting finish to race 1 of the Clipsal 500.
It's going to be interesting because I think there's about 5 cars between Glenn Seaton and Craig Lowndes on the road.
The other thing was, Mark, was that when Glenn actually, when the pace car had come out, it snuck the lead back to 15.3 seconds, so it had got back to 12.4, snuck back out to 15 because obviously there was some traffic, and he responded. He actually did a 28.1, which was a pretty good time just before the safety car came out. So now the gap's right there.
Pretty disappointed Brad Jones on the side of the circuit, and he is out of the Clipsal 500. That is the reason why the Aussie Male Falcon has rolled over at speed stick turn.
Unfortunately, Brad Jones is okay. Let's check them on the Shell Helix race score as it stands at the moment. Glenn Seaton with Craig Lowndes right behind him in the queue. They're under safety car conditions, so they've got a big sprint to the end. Stephen Richards behind. Paul Radisich in the Ford. Greg Murphy, John Bow, Stephen Johnson. Good performance this from the rookie up in 7th. John Faulkner, 8th.
We'll run right through them for you so you can keep an eye on your favourite driver. Tander, Todd Kelly, Jason Bargwanna 11th now after his 2 pit stops. Tony Longhurst 12th. McLean up to 13th. Trevor Ashby, a fine performance, up to 14th.
Plenty of cars, plenty of carnage here. Dougal McDougall, Steve Reed, Paul Morris, Mick Donoghue, Peter Dillman, 2 laps down, Rodney Forbes, Chris Merton, Thomas Mazira having a tough day too.
Our round 1 winner of the Konica V8 Lights, Dean Canto, sits 25th at the moment. Russell Ingall, well, he's out of things for the day. So too Mark Scaife. Neil Crompton has rejoined the circuit, but it's not been a happy day for Cromley.
61 of 78 laps down in the first of our races here this weekend, the Clipsal 500 in Adelaide, and we are under the safety car, and this is why. A spectacular crash, which thankfully Brad Jones has made through unscathed. A big shake-up though as the roll bars come into play, stiffening that car but making it a major impact on the body, although they're very tight into the seats, the drivers here, and Brad Jones was able to step away and survey the carnage. Devastation also for the team. His brother Kim, who runs the show here, as they've made their first full stint in V8 Supercar racing. They pull away that tyre barrier. The interesting point is, from the race point of view, is that Glenn Seaton's lead has been reduced to a couple of seconds on Craig Lowndes. He had built it back up to 15. Here's Grant Denyer.
I'm here with Kim Jones. Have you had any word from him? How is he?
No, we haven't. All we've done is seen on the TV like everybody else has. It's quite a large accident. He was out of the car and walking around, so hopefully he's the main thing is that he's not hurt. But the Aussie male Ford certainly is a little second hand at the moment. We had a little accident earlier on where it damaged one of the wheels and the steering wasn't quite right. I don't know whether something's broken going in there or what's happened, but it was quite a large accident.
So he wasn't complaining of any mechanical problems? This one was just straight out of the blue?
Yeah, it was. The Aussie male Ford goes like a rocket all the time. This is a new category for us, and we're learning and moving up the field, and it's just one of those things, and usually everything's going fine and the car's great.
Hard luck, Kim. Let's hope he's okay.
Yeah, we'll see what we can do about tomorrow. It's a fairly big accident. We've got a great group of guys, and we'll work hard tonight and see if we can come back tomorrow.
Thanks, mate.
A car that the Brad Jones Racing team acquired from Tony Longhurst at the end of last year, but looking very, very second-hand at the moment. They put a lot of work and effort into altering the setup. The way Brad likes to drive it is vastly different to Tony's, and they've spent a lot of time and money on doing that. But after that rollover, I think that will put pay to his weekend. Glenn Seaton is leading things, and when hopefully we get things underway very shortly, Craig Lowndes has got a bit of work to do.
Interesting scenario too under the safety car, because there's 4 cars between Seaton and Lowndes, and 2 of those are Fords. So we've got a thrilling run to the finish. Great overhead view. See, the yellow lights are still on. You cannot change position until you cross the start-finish line. And away they go.
Lowndes over the back of Cameron McConville now, looking to get past him very quickly as they work towards centre chicane. Lowndes will want to get up front as quickly as he possibly can. Your leader is Glenn Seaton, and there is second place Craig Lowndes. He flashes through. Stephen Richards in third, Paul Radisich fourth, Greg Murphy in fifth. So the Kmart Commodores doing very well. Lowndes down the inside of his Bathurst and Queensland 500 teammate McConville.
Well, this is a situation custom-made for Craig Lowndes, Mark Scaife. He would love this, wouldn't he?
Oh, Craig will be into it now, there's no doubt about it. The interesting scenario will be there's a couple of Works Ford cars in bed and Lark in between them. So if I was the Ford Motorsport manager now, I'd be down there at 1,000 miles an hour trying to give Glenn his best shot. But Craig will be into it, there's no doubt.
Maybe a middle-of-the-road approach, you could say.
Well, I'd say they'd be probably pretty wide if they needed to be, which, you know, by the time Craig gets there, don't you worry, he'll be pretty aggressive about it. So if they wanted to be silly about it, I don't think he'd mind using a front spoiler on them either, so we'll soon see.
17 laps remain in race 1 of the Clipsal 500 for season 2000, round 3 of the Shell Championship Series. And the man you are watching at the moment...
Oh, I just noticed Crompton's in there too. He's actually going to be playing rear gunner for Seaton because he's right behind his teammate. So Lowndes, this is going to be a classic battle.
Yeah, this is a real tactical move here from FTR by the looks of things. Radisich forces his way through as well, through some of the back markers. There's Lowndes coming in on the back.
Crompton's had a terrible week, but he's pretty ideally positioned now. Oh, damage here for Radisich.
Now that's happened on the exit of Clipsal corner. He's made contact with one of the other back markers, if you like. I think it may have even been McDougall when he's come past McDougall in the Pepsi Commodore.
You can see that damage on the front spoiler there, Mark Scaife.
I think he's actually bumped the tyres, to be honest, somewhere. It looks like it's you know, basically rubbed
certainly, you're right, it's hit the left-hand front corner and dragged that back onto there. Larkham's speared off into the S's there, so they're at the top of the young and old.
Pretty hectic, the closing laps.
I'm glad I'm sitting here, mate.
So Larkham tries to get back in the queue. He's had a terrible day as well. So the field sorting themselves out, getting their tyres up to optimum operating temperature. There's Junior Johnson, younger son of Dick Johnson, who retired end of last year. Steve's doing a great job in his debut performance on the streets of Adelaide. There's his teammate, Paul Radicic, sitting back there in 4th position. If he's going to have to find some speed, this is the time he's going to do it.
Doesn't seem to be too much smoke coming from the front left now, despite that damage to the car. Seaton leads. We'll check the gap for you at the completion of this lap from Craig Lowndes. There you're right with the wrap now. Paul Radicic currently in 4th place from Richards. Lowndes comes across the start-finish line. The gap 3.1 seconds between himself and Glenn Seaton, who is leading.
Well, there's our race leader, Glenn Seaton. Neil Crompton in behind him, rear gunner, and there is Craig Lowndes, car 1. Got in front of Craig Baird, so Lowndes is on a storm here.
Oh, we've had a spinner at the back there. That looks like Rodney Forbes. Rodney Forbes has spun. And Greg Murphy just taking evasive action, and a whole heap of them lucky to get through.
I wonder if the officials will bring out the safety car, or would they deem that to be in not too dangerous a position, Mark Skate?
Well, it depends on how far Rodney can reverse up there. I mean, he was reversing up the fence. He didn't really mean to be, but he was reversing up that straight up Wakefield Street a fair way. So if he can get up there to a bit further, then that'll be okay. Where it's parked right now, it's pretty dangerous. Oh, there he goes. Turned it around, we're off and running.
Excellent. He's kept it going.
That's a very quick corner, so it'll be interesting to see how much damage is really done there. It's torn the rear wing off it, obviously.
So Rodney Forbes, all sorts of bits and pieces falling off the 3rd of the Gibson Motorsport prepared Commodores. So hopefully he can limp that round to the pits, but you can see a lot of damage there, particularly the aerodynamics. Back wing's been kicked up. Big hit in the left rear. So Rodney Forbes trying to limp it back to pit lane. We've got a great battle going for the lead, though. Craig Lowndes trying to hunt down Glenn Seaton, who leads this one.
And a battle of words coming up in the 10 chat room. Don't forget, for Perth viewers, 3:30 p.m. Eastern time, 5:30 p.m. after the end of the telecast. That's the address. So get on the internet after it's all over here at the Clipsal 500 and get involved.
This is a classic battle. The gap has maintained just 3.08, 3.07 since they've gone back to full racing conditions. So Seaton responding to the challenge from the Holden Racing team. And this is going to be knife-edge stuff. These two professionals pushing each other to the limit.
Lowndes is going 11 tenths too. Really trying very hard.
They'll be driving every lap like a qualifying lap now, wouldn't they, Mark Scope?
Well, you have a look at the body language. They are absolutely into it. And at this stage of the race, obviously, still the tyres aren't fantastic. They're using every bit of road. And the interesting part now that Glenn's got is he'll sneak past his teammate, Neil Crompton. He's snuck past right now as we speak. And it'll be interesting to see what Neil does, because he can probably, you know, if he presses on hard with Glenn, it would be nice to have another car there.
So that decision to fix the axle problems that Crompton's car had is possibly going to pay dividends here. Lowndes, you can see the gap is visibly closing. 3.07 seconds the last time around. Seaton leads. His teammate Neil Crompton, who sits right in behind him at the moment, is out of the equation, but certainly in it in terms of helping his teammate. We take another look at this incident involving Rodney Forbes. There was contact there with Greg Murphy.
I think Murph actually might have given the back of it a little rub, which wouldn't have probably helped the amount of oversteer that you normally have off that corner.
I think the amount of work that the Gibson Motorsport stables had to do this weekend with the crash for Stephen Richards yesterday.
2.83 seconds now, the gap between Seaton and Lowndes. So Lowndes continues to eat into Seaton's lead.
Well, it's been a long time between drinks for Glenn Seaton. He's gone 27 rounds in the Shell Championship Series without a win. His last victory was round 6 at Eastern Creek in his championship year back in 1997. So things have been very tough for Seaton the last few seasons. He'll be relishing this.
And so would FTR, who are yet to be standing top of the podium.
And don't you worry, when Sito's got a sniff of the lead like that, he's always really hard to beat. I mean, he now is driving. You have a look. He's driving the car really well. I mean, he's using all the road everywhere. He's trying to drive it very straight. You watch Glenn drive this car, you'll notice that even on the exit of this is a second gear, really slow corner. There's no opposite lock on the car. So when he drives it so conservatively for the rear tyre that he always pace gets the best of him. That's why he's been so successful in the series.
What's been the turnaround with the cars this weekend, Mark? Because they've had some pretty disastrous opening rounds.
Well, I don't think that they've been able to tune them well enough for the respective circuits, to be honest, Mark. That's the fact. I think at some places they've been really good, and other places not. You look at the car there when it comes off the corner there. He was just asking the pit crew how many laps to go, and with 10 laps to go, he'll take a fair bit of beating. There's no doubt about it. The gap is back to 2.3 seconds.
Yeah. So Lowndes taking half a second out there.
And you can see Lowndes across every curve. You can see him in the background. So he's pressing on.
Lowndes is on a qualifying. You can see the tail hanging out there as he flicked it through the centre chicane. He's giving it absolutely everything. And you can be damn sure that Seaton and Crompton are doing it as well.
Shades.
Crompton could be the spoiler in the pack here.
Certainly could be. Shades of Lowndes' aggressive drive from the rear of the grid last season to first place in Leg 2 of the Adelaide 500. Now trying to get past Neil Crompton as quickly as he possibly can. And he'll be out after Glenn Seaton, no doubt about it. 2.3 seconds is the gap at the moment. They head into speed stick turn off the Adelaide straight. Look at Lowndes monstering the curbs up onto two wheels. But Seaton leads from Lowndes.
Absolutely thrilling finish inning here for the Clipsal 500. Let's check him out on the Shell Helix board at the moment. Seaton, Lowndes closing the gap. 2.3 seconds now. Stephen Richards in third, Radisich fourth, Tander fifth, Murphy, Johnson, John Bowe rounding out the top 8.
We go to Bargwana, Faulkner, Longhurst, Todd Kelly, Cameron McLean and Craig Baird. This is going to be an enthralling finish. Stay with us here in Adelaide.
After 71 of 78 laps, this is what it's come down to. Ford versus Holden. Craig Lowndes passing Neil Crompton, who was riding shotgun for race leader Glenn Seaton and his teammate. Lowndes now in pursuit of Seaton. This is going to be one of the closest and most fiercely fought battles of the year.
The Holden fans are on their feet, Billy. And no wonder, Lowndes is on a charge. We can see Bowe here getting caught in a collision with Todd Kelly. Oh, and both of them have clouded the wall. At the very end of the Brabham Straight, the right-hander. It's another look at it.
It looks like the two wheels have actually caught up.
Yeah.
Like the wheels have grabbed each other and turned the car left. Like both of them obviously didn't have much road there, but the cars don't turn left for no reason. So it looks like the wheels have got caught up together. And the steering arms, obviously, there's a broken steering arm on one of the cars and just fired in the fence.
Last lap around, Lowndes had taken out 0.4 of a second out of Seaton.
This is what he's all about, folks. 6 laps remaining in the Clipsal 500 race 1. Ford versus Holden, the classic battle on the streets of Adelaide. 7 laps remaining. Can Craig Lowndes do it? 6 laps remaining, I should say. Can Craig Lowndes do it?
This is an amazing performance and what the series is all about. Ford versus Holden. FTR leading the Holden racing team at the moment. These two guys are going absolutely flat out. Seaton a 1:27.60 the last time around, and Lowndes has gone even quicker, a 1:27.37. 0.01 of a second is the gap between the two of them. Grant?
Yep, here with Rodney Forbes. Obviously that tangle with Murph has put you out, mate. Just talk us through it. What happened?
Yeah, I was basically the faster cars were coming through, and I'd been waving through in positions that it was convenient to me and just holding my line, and Greg had tried a couple of times but hadn't gone through with it, and then he's just punted me off coming through the chicane in the first corner there. It's very disappointing. We haven't had the car to do what we need to do here this weekend, and we've just been slowly plugging away at it, and it's very disappointing. Hard luck. Thank you.
Bumper to bumper racing. We're coming down to the crunch time now. This is out the back view of Glenn Seaton's Falcon. You cannot be any closer, Craig Lowndes. Ford, Livet, onboard camera. You're fighting in this battle with these two professionals. Glenn Seaton under maximum attack.
Look at Lowndes on the outside. He won't be able to do that there. Seaton has got the line covered into Mistral corner. Nothing separating these two. Ford versus Holden. We have got 5 laps left to go now. Can Lowndes get through on the run to centre chicane? This is going to be a classic finish to race 1 of the Clipsal 500.
Down through the centre chicane, up Wakefield Street. Once again, the crowd going mad. The Ford and Holden fans are screaming as they come up towards some lap traffic. Gary Holt in the Eastern Creek karting machine. Hoping to give some racing room as they cut through. Look at Lowndes running inside.
He's made the move, but Seaton has got the line covered for the next one through this complex here. Listen to the crowd on their feet here around the streets. Oh, Lowndes muscles his way past. He's got him. Lowndes has got Seaton. That's a brilliant move. Listen to the fans.
Scavy, this place is in meltdown. The crowd's going mad.
It's on Viagon Holden, isn't it? They've had a rub there, and there's smoke coming off the left-hand front tyre of Craig's. And don't you worry, Cito hasn't quit yet either. The left guard's pretty hurt. Aceto hasn't quit yet because that was a pretty bold move, and he'll be back on with it again.
It ain't over. That is 4 short.
Here we go, on the outside.
Crompton coming for the ride as well. Seaton desperately trying to get around Lowndes. Lowndes has got the line covered. How much damage has the Holden Racing Team Commodore got, and can he get it to the line in first place?
34-year-old Glenn Seaton, 27 Shell Championship rounds without a win. It's been a long time between drinks for the Victorian, and he's not going to give up without a fight. Right behind Lowndes.
Oh, he's giving it a hit. Oh, this is fantastic, isn't it?
4 laps left to go, and it is on for young and old folks. Glenn Seaton throwing out the charge to 25-year-old Craig Lowndes. 3 times Lowndes has won the Shell Championship Series, and Seaton did it in 93 and again in 97. These two guys well credentialed and going hammer and tong at the moment.
Craig Lowndes, 3rd in the championship this year. Seaton in 7th. Final points on the point now. 80 points for the winner here. It's a crucial championship round. Everyone knew that coming into this one, but this is more than that. This is blood and guts. This is Ford versus Holden. There's pride on the line here. The Shell Helix replay. Let's have a look at this, Scobie.
This is the classic crisscross. Craig's up the outside, then back the inside. Crisscross back up the inside. Nowhere for Glenn to cover him for the next one, and obviously got him. Glenn got caught in the middle of the next corner because he was going to go back up the inside up Bartels Road.
There are some very nervous faces in the Holden Racing Team pit and at FTR at the moment. Lots of nail biting going on. We are counting down to the finish of race 1 of the Clipsal 500. Craig Lowndes is your leader. This has been a stunning performance from the 25-year-old. He gets it sideways off Brabham Straight, and Seaton is still in the hunt. He's got lights ablaze and hoping that the lap traffic will stay out of the way.
Can Glenn Seaton find any more speed? A little bit of a breathing space there now for Lowndes, but that was tremendous nail-biting stuff. The crowd are going absolutely mad along pit straight. They saw Lowndes turn it on last year. 2 magnificent victories, particularly the second one from last to first. 3 laps remaining. Well, he's got a lot more pressure here with Glenn Seaton. There's a tangle back in the pack.
That is Anthony Tratt in the Toll Express machine, and Larkham goes around in sympathy. McLean takes evasive action as well. So they're all in there.
Can Glenn Seaton respond? He's just hovering in the rearview mirror of Craig Lowndes. Neil Crompton sitting in behind his teammate. Looks like he might just have a little bit of an advantage here, Mark Scope.
Yeah, look, I think he's probably strong enough now, and I think probably Glenn now has also said, if we're going to keep on going at that speed, we're going to take a fair few risks. The major points are on the table for tomorrow. Yep. Make sure you can start on the front row of the grid. It's probably a pretty wise thing.
Well, this is a fantastic performance from Garth Tander. After his 2 pit stops, he was well down. He's now moved up to 4th place. Now that is Cameron McLean on the back of the Adelaide Straight.
Well, we saw a very strong performance from the Queenslander last year. He actually finished 6th in his first race in the Adelaide 500, but that's not the way he wanted to finish race 1.
Look, Bargwanna now muscling Greg Murphy as we work towards the end of this one. Bargwanna in 8th place, Murphy in 7th, and it's on as well between the other Valvoline Cummins Commodore and the other Kmart Commodore. Tander, he's all over the back of Stephen Richards.
I think you've got to say that Stephen Johnson's done a pretty good job today, and look at this tangle a bit further back in the pack. Larry Perkins, he really has been in the thick of things all day. Mark Poole and the John Deere Commodore spins it around. Larry sneaks through the inside. So too does Thomas Mazera and Wayne Wakefield. So no damage there.
2 laps left to go. So Craig Lowndes has come across the start-finish line and has gotten the 2 laps left to go. Bargwanna has managed to get through on Greg Murphy, so he's moved himself 1 further forward. Barg's now up into 7th place.
Garth Tander looks like he's got through on Steve Richards also. So the Valvoline cars have just grabbed the Kmart cars on with 2 laps to go.
Stephen Johnson, just 25 years of age from Brisbane. Son of 5 times Australian touring car champion Dick Johnson. And he's been doing an outstanding job. He had no track time on Friday due to an engine misfire.
And this is his first ever attempt at the Adelaide circuit.
Absolutely. Only 14 championship starts. And he's a guy with a big future. He's used his head, obviously. He's survived. Looks like the car doesn't have any damage on it. And that puts him in a very strong position for tomorrow's 250k race.
Working towards the end of this one. There is Craig Lowndes, your leader. As he comes across the start-finish line this time around, he will get the last lap forward. So Lowndes leads from Seaton. There you can see on your screen the split, 2.16 seconds.
I think fitness might have been a factor in here too, Mark Scope. It's an incredibly tough race, isn't it?
Look, To be honest, I don't really think so, Mark. I think that, look, it's obviously a very tough race and fitness is a big issue, but I don't think fitness was a big thing in this particular instance. I think that probably at the end of the race, our car was pretty good. You could see now on the last lap that Craig, has been able to drive the car very hard at a time where probably Glenn couldn't.
We are on our way.
That's really the result.
Yeah. We're on our way home, folks. Race 1 of the Clipsal 500, and Craig Lowndes leads, has resumed here in Adelaide in the place where he left off at the end of 1999.
Well, you just can't touch this bloke around here. It's quite incredible performance. 2 wins last year, and looking like he's repeating that performance in the season 2000. He certainly kicked it off pretty well today.
Marvellous effort, and really now pulling out a huge gap. I think you're quite right, Mark, basically that Glenn has obviously made the decision with 160 points up for grabs tomorrow. It's obviously a better move to play it safe.
Oh, no doubt he wants to start on the front row of the grid, and it's a pretty clever thing to do if you're going to take risks and potentially have a spin or whatever. Oh,
goodness me.
That's all you need is someone to turn around in front of you there. That's
Chris
fantastic.
Merton on the final few corners. How nervous would Craig Lowndes be after that? He works towards the finish of this one, folks. Heading down now past this huge field of Holden fans.
Well, there are some people thinking that Craig Lowndes, after 3 championships, may have been lacking a bit of motivation. Well, he's certainly proved them wrong. That was absolutely on fire stuff.
Sensational effort from the 25-year-old sideways onto the front straight here at Adelaide. Craig Lowndes takes out race 1 of the Clipsal 500. Well done. The Holden Racing team rejoice. And as I said, he resumes where he left off after the second leg of the 99 race. Adelaide is Lowndes territory at the moment. Well done to Glenn Seaton. He gets home in second place. Can't speak highly enough either of the performance of Garth Tander. Have a look at this all the way to the wire. Stephen Johnson and Jason Bargwana, and I think Johnson has just gotten there by a fraction. So we'll recap them for you. Lowndes, Seaton, Garth Tander, who started from pole, pitted late in the piece, has finished 3rd. So that's a great result for the Gary Rogers Valvoline Cummins team. Stephen Richards brings the Kmart Commodore home in 4th place. Well done to the Bathurst winner. Paul Radisich 5th, Stephen Johnson 6th, Jason Bargwana 7th, Murphy 8th, Tony Longhurst 9th, and John Faulkner in the Asia Online Commodore finishes in 10th place. Well, folks, we are only at the halfway mark. Can you believe it? Another 250k race to go tomorrow. Barry Sheen is down with Jeff Gregg.
Yeah, I'm down here with Jeff Gregg. What about that then, Jeff?
It's fantastic for the team. Puts in a good position for tomorrow, and hopefully we can do the same again tomorrow.
I saw you were a bit worried earlier on, weren't you, about this pit stop under the pace car?
Yeah, well, there was a contentious issue whether some of the cars pitted while the safety car was out, which you're not allowed to do. But apparently the officials checked it all, and it seems okay. So, if they've checked it and done their job, well, I suppose it's it.
Well done anyway, Jeff.
Thanks, Barry. Cheers.
Adelaide is alive to the sound of V8 Supercars. We're only at the halfway mark. We've got to do it all again tomorrow. And Craig Lowndes is brimming with confidence after that fantastic performance.
Look, it was a great drive, there's no doubt. And obviously, last year's drive was a fantastic drive to come from the back. But today he started from the front, was in the hunt the whole day, and certainly was in contention. As I said, you've got to be in contention with 25 laps to go. Was in contention, was able to be fast enough, put on a great drive, and caught and hunted down Cito. It was a fantastic drive.
Give us your thoughts heading into tomorrow's second race.
Well, look, it's very tough. There'll be some very tired guys there this afternoon, and you can see the elation out there. Matty Crawford and Pete Smith. Sheeny can't get a word in, that's unbelievable.
Let's go trackside. In fact, Barry's going to try and grab a word with Craig Lowndes.
I've got to wait till he gets his helmet off. I think he's a little bit hot at the moment, I should think. Come on, Craig, hurry up.
Fantastic performance from Lowndes.
Amazing, truly incredible. What a race, Craig.
Well, it wasn't without incidents and accidents, but really the guys did a great job. I didn't have a drink straw for the first half of that race, and the guys threw right in, and we lost a bit of time, but we got it back at the end.
Amazing pressure you were putting on Glenn at the end of it.
Well, I don't know how
his tyres were, but mine weren't too good at all. So I just had to keep circulating, and hopefully he'd sort of either make a mistake or wear his tyres down. And really, as I said, our tyres weren't too flash either.
Was it as hard as last year?
No, I think this year was actually a little bit better. Obviously, the preparation is obviously good. The guys have done a lot of work on the car from last year with heat-wise, and it's worked. So looking forward to tomorrow.
Fantastic race.
Thanks,
Great stuff. Really good.
Great job, man.
Lowndes understandably happy, and Glenn Seaton, although he's finished in second place today,